Ladies and gentlemen, may I present for your intellectual and philosophical pleasure,
Ron and Fez on Raw Dog.
Raw Dog Comedy Hits.
Channel 99.
We're keeping our house band going today. Replacements, even though Michele with 1L came in and asked me if this was Ethan Hawke. What are you basing that on? Just
Reality Bites.
Yeah, when he had that band. Yeah.
He really made some women upset in that band.
Sure, but so you cover a song. How dare you sing that song by the Femmes? That's by the Violent Femmes, and now you're singing it.
You've made me a violent femme.
NIST. Good to see you, Michele.
Hi, thanks for having me come in.
You remember Fez and Shelby.
Hi, guys.
Michele.
What's up?
What's up?
Chicken butt.
Shelby almost missed 2 live reads that we had to do today.
Ugh.
But he was miraculously saved. And I don't know whether you feel the tension here.
I do.
But it ended yesterday with Fez versus Shelby after the show. So cray-cray.
What's nice is about today's episode with the almost missed 2 live reads that couldn't be made up is I got 2 lies about it.
What's that?
Well, first I was told that no live reads today because there was a 12 noon cutoff on the NBC spots for Undateable. So that obviously was a lie. Yeah. He didn't know that. Then he said he never got the email, and Shit for Brains doesn't realize I can see his monitor in here as he brings up his email, and I see it sent out from the traffic department at 3:14 yesterday afternoon. The email he never got, and Michele, he stayed up all night waiting for it. He stayed up all night looking for this email to come in.
Fez is getting crazy. Luckily for Michele, he had corporate help.
Mistook the confirmation from yesterday's email as I saw that, and then I thought, okay, that must be it. So
I don't care. I don't care about either one of you guys. They're just crazy all the time now.
This is fun, crazy, I guess. It's like my parents are fighting.
Yesterday, the show ended. I don't know whether you know this, but Fez had a very good show yesterday. And then afterwards, so I go, hey, Fez, great show. And he starts to yell at me. Fez is, is just yelling, yeah, it would have been if it wasn't for that little creep in there who put a meme up of me crying and all this shit. So he's pointing. So then I watch and him run around, and he's in that soundproof booth over there, and I just see a soundproof, just his hands go back and forth. And I didn't even see, I'm sitting right here, but I did not see whatever made you so upset.
Well, we were in the middle of talking to Giannis Papas, and of course, and Shelby got caught not paying attention to the show as usual. I didn't know whether he had dozed off like he tends to do, but no, it turned out he had no one had asked him to, but he had brought up a picture of me crying, a photo that was online in front of Giannis, and was trying to make a meme out of it.
Oh.
And again, I'm watching this happen on my monitor.
You make memes during the show?
Because that's part of his job description. But you didn't see it, Ronnie?
No.
Because, you know why? He reached around and turned off your monitor, the monitor that you look at from your spot in the studio. That was turned off, so you didn't see it happening.
I was being considerate.
Why are you making a meme during the show?
Just inspiration struck me. I should not have done that, though.
Well, inspiration struck me, too. And guess what, Ronnie?
What?
Somebody named Shelby Royston is having a one-on-one with Don Wiki Wicklin on Tuesday. So enjoy your weekend, creep. And think about that all weekend. What you're going to say when you're one-on-one in the studio with Wiki, having a private meeting.
I don't think it's that scary.
Do you want to play outside?
Yeah, I see Wiki all the time. Hey, speaking of play outside, I told the story the other day about the coworker that someone came up to him and said that they saw his children playing.
His?
But I'm just going to break this now. It was Michele.
It was
your kids.
Yeah.
And your neighbor came up here and said,
"Yeah, I helped him get a job here."
And then he wanted to alert everyone that your children play alone.
I don't stay outside while my children are playing.
How old are your kids?
They're 6 and 2.5.
Okay, that's a little young. 2.5.
But they're in the backyard and they're in the front yard. Like I'm watching them. I'm just not outside with them.
But that's something that we don't do in the suburbs anymore.
Apparently not. But I also allow my 6-year-old to walk from his sitter who lives the house behind me, and it, not behind me, like it's not walking across the street. It's walking around the block, and there's a man across the street from her who follows him home because he doesn't trust that no one will rob or take my child. So I have people watching my kids all the time. It's just not me.
So, see, this...
it makes me batshit.
Yeah. Did you go out and play anywhere you wanted to?
Fuck yeah. I was alone by 8 on,
Yeah.
Because my mom worked. The end. I'm fine here. Independent.
We all used to go out and play in the woods, and it was always the same. This was always the thing. My mom was like, I don't want you down the pipes. This was a place we called the Pipes because some construction company had dumped pipes there. I don't know why that was acceptable. And then I went immediately to the Pipes.
Of course.
Stay away from the train tracks. There's train bums. I had to go down and check out the
Let's see
tracks.
these drunk bums.
But no, I never once thought that an adult would grab us and take us away. I was more worried about our natural problem in life, teenagers.
They're the worst.
Yeah, teenagers.
My sisters were the worst.
Yeah.
But I've also gotten in trouble for my parenting from I had volunteered for the talent show so I could work backstage because I love the Broadway and the theater. So I'm volunteering, and one of the women lives across the street from me, and she mentioned it in front of a table of mothers that I do that I allow my children to play outside alone, and that I allow my son to walk around the block alone, and that it's heinous. And I said, well, crime is less than it's ever been for child napping.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, that's not true. And I was like, do your research. It's absolutely true. And she and I got in a fight about it.
I don't.
Didn't change my mind, and my kids are still running around. Probably right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's much more of a chance that, just a regular accident will happen to a kid than,
Sure. I don't let them play in the street.
Yeah. That's where we used to play, like kickball or baseball and stuff. And then when cars would go by, we'd always do this in the back of the car. We would always tap on the back of the car. I don't know why we did it, but when the car would be going by, we would just do that, like, hurry up.
It's so annoying when you're driving because for some reason that is so much louder inside the car than out.
Well, then stop being the babies. You're the adults in a car. Al in Maryland.
Hey, for Mother of the Year, I got 2 words, 1 movie: Mystic River.
Yeah, okay. It took place, I believe, in the 80s, and it's also fiction.
Yeah. Good luck.
I guess why a lot of people are mad at you, Fez.
Why?
You gave out Shelby's last name.
Oh.
I actually named a show after my last name. I don't know why everyone's so worried about their name. I guess we're worried that Shelby could get snatched now.
This could get child napped.
There are a lot of vans in the city. You got to watch out for that.
Don't take candy from it.
I thought it was you do take candy.
Shelby.
I've avoided a lot of close calls then. I'm always taking candy.
Shelby, I don't believe that you were making a meme yesterday during the show.
Don't believe it?
No, I don't fucking believe it. I don't believe it, considering that you weren't even paying attention as the show was going on.
I mistook the don't believe part. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, now people are asking for the crying meme. And saying just post the meme. What happened to the big meme, Shelb?
I did not save said meme.
Oh, you work so hard on it during the show.
What are you going to say to your boss when you have to see him?
Because he's such a big fan of you, Shelby.
That will not happen again 100%.
Isn't that what you say every time something comes up? Isn't that your gimmick? Matt. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Ronnie B. $1 million this morning, $1 million right now.
Yeah, what's up?
How hot do you think the makeup sex is going to be between these two when they're done with their lovers' quarrel?
I would love to see it. I would love to be there for that.
Shelby, I got these puppies and these baseball cards if you want to come by later.
Sounds good. What kind of puppies?
Anything you want. I got a Frank Thomas rookie card attached to a Beagle puppy. Just look for the van without windows.
Here's John in Alabama.
Hey, Ronnie B. You know, it is Friday the 13th, and it sounds like the rats are coming out. What the fuck? Did not expect Fezzy to rat on Shelby.
Well, see, here's the thing. First of all, I didn't know that because this fucking kid was so dense yesterday, I didn't think he was taking time for himself to fuck with the co-host who happened to be having the best day of his life.
Yeah, to try to sabotage it is what pissed me off the most.
What you told me yesterday, I thought he was looking at a meme, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm like, you know, people send stuff in. But the fact that he's sitting there making shit up, you are so lucky, dude, that you caught that thing today. You got to you must have an angel on your shoulder that caught that thing for you today, because you would have really been screwed.
I know you tried to cover it up with two different lies. I don't know whether to call you Haldeman or Ehrlichman, but nice try.
Haldeman.
Ehrlichman.
You know what? You do references that the kids can get.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's fun about it. You're doing Watergate references.
That'll be something else for him to think about all weekend. Well, he's prepping for his big meeting.
Why do you like ratting, though? That doesn't make you look good.
I usually don't, but this just gives me all the joy in the world, because this kid has no respect for anyone. He only went to his father's funeral because he thought he'd be presented with a giant check, and I enjoy doing this to him because he has zero respect for anyone.
I don't even know what some of the things that you just said. John, go ahead, John.
Hey, Michele, your parenting reminds me of Greg Maddox, where you used to always get the whiter strike zone, except you're using it with children. You used to go around on your own at 8, but now your kids are 6 and 2, and you're letting them go out on their own?
They're outside my house where there's a big window where I'm watching them.
But you're letting them walk around the block unsupervised and just hoping that...
Just the 6-year-old, and it's around... It's literally, I text, the woman texts me saying he's leaving. I stand in front of my house and text her when he gets there.
I will say this. We used to walk to school at 6, and we didn't have sidewalks, right? So it was this really crazy long walk. And I got sent home from this little school because I had scarlet fever. So I was walking home with scarlet fever and throwing up until I got to my house. But I don't see anything wrong with the kids playing outside.
You saw a video a few days ago, that guy that snatched the kid, and the 2 little kids went running after him.
Okay, but I could also show you a video where a fucking car, got fucking head on with a truck. I could show you a video with an airplane that went off the runway. But we get in the cars, we get in the
They're going to show us the shittiest thing that happens to children they're not going to show us the best. And also, do your research. I'm serious. Do your research versus when we were growing up and when you were and when our kids are now growing up. Crime is down.
What's the point of taking the chance that you don't have to walk a half a block just to go get your kid?
That's not it. It's allowing him the freedom to feel like he is... I don't want my kid to be at home at 18. I don't want to be like the rest of these parents who enable their children to just mooch off of them for the rest of their lives. I want him to be independent. I want him to feel like he is in control of his life.
Well, now you're making me feel guilty because I'm still at home.
Good job.
But what's your whole thing of feeling like you're going to bring up? Did you see that a kid got grabbed the other day by a 15-year-old? We always said that that's fucking possible. Jesus Christ, running into the 14 and 15-year-old guys in my neighborhood when I was a kid?
They're the
Horrific.
worst.
Horrific.
They were so cruel.
Here's Tony. Tony in Chicago.
Ladies and gentlemen, my love your show. First day of kindergarten, half day, released at noon. My loving mother forgot me. I stood outside of a school where no teacher or administrator thought it was strange that a kindergarten child stood outside for probably 40 minutes looking around with teary-eyed for his mom before I finally walked the 3/4 of a mile home and rang my own doorbell to my mom's horror. So that was...
You know what? Actually, my mom always tells this story because I hated kindergarten, so she was worried about me. So walking home from first grade, she was waiting for me down the end of the block, and I said like this, "You're embarrassing me." I was like, I walked past her, like I didn't know her, and then just gritted out, "You're embarrassing me." Because I literally didn't want anybody to know I had a family. I wanted them to think that I was keeping a single home for myself. It felt like the most humiliating thing in the world to look down and see my mom there. But obviously, you know, the trend has changed. But this guy, John from Miami, making Michele seem like she's a bad mother because the kid walks around the block. It's kind of gotten crazy.
My friend writes for, this is hilarious, grandparents.com, and she wrote this article about this, saying, you know, you got to dial it down, grandparents, they're fine. There's no more crime, then there's less. And all the grandparents, the comments were just like, I would never allowed your children to do this. It's so crazy how we've just regressed or something. I don't know what we've done.
Mark in Virginia.
Yeah, how do you do? Listen, you know, we've gotten to the point where we just pump fear into these mothers, and nobody goes, you know, what I think is fascinating is that they run ads in the football games encouraging kids to go out and play for 60 minutes a day.
You have to tell kids. There has to be a commercial asking kids to go outside and run around.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
When you and I grew up, because I think we're the same age and from the same area, you just went out. I spent my summers, I'd leave the house, mother and father would ship me to Atlantic City. When the sun came up, I'd go out, and I'd come home when it was time to go to bed, and nothing ever happened. Now, I realized, you know, I don't know how many freaks there are in the world, but I think when we promote the freaks, like the guy who stole the kid the other day.
Thank you.
This is just something the media pumps out to scare you, because as long as we're scared, we need the government. If we're not scared, we don't need these cops and all this nonsense that the oppression they give us. They need us to be scared. And everything they do, from the weather to to cops getting shot to, you know, people stealing babies, it's all to scare you. Because if we're scared, we need them. When we're not scared, we can say, I don't need this nonsense. That's it.
I always just think that they just do it because enough people will show up to see it. You know what I mean? It's clickbait. If they say, look at this, and they get more clicks, then yeah, they're going to do it every single time. Dan, Boston. Hey, what's up?
What's worse, making a meme or wishing cancer on a coworker?
We'll let Wiki decide on Tuesday.
That is a Sophie's choice.
Look, to me, you can get along with anything as long as you're paying attention to the show and doing your job. And yesterday, Shelby was fucking staring into the sky. He came back with that Kentucky thing after not talking for 2 hours. Fez had the biggest show of his life yesterday. But that's also because I think, quite frankly, he was in love with at least one of the guests that came in here.
At least one.
You know he's straight, right?
Oh, yeah, I know that. But I just adore Joe Coy.
Why?
I don't know. He's really, really... He's very sweet.
He is very sweet.
And he's going to be at Levity Live tonight in West Nyack.
Are you going to be there
He's
too?
already sold out.
Wow.
Wow.
He's already sold out the whole weekend. The only show he had to sell was Thursday. But he does all the gay voices at Fez. He's like, hello, Fez. Look, Fez has got the thing. And Fez brings up something he loves. But for some reason, Fez accepts him and not other people.
There's a way to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's totally done with love. And you can feel the difference.
I'll tell you who else loves you.
Who's that?
Big J.
Big J does not love me. That was obvious from that Skanks audio.
Loves you.
No, Big J joined in on that tirade against me for being older and gay because he had gotten himself in an embarrassing situation earlier in the week. So go ahead and throw Fez under the bus to try to take the attention off of him.
Under what bus? People always say under the bus, but
It's a big bus. I mean, it's so big that everybody gets under it.
Boom, boom, boom.
I heard that, and I think Jay was just like, oh, these guys, this is fun to do, and then he realized, I don't want to make fun of Fez. I think that he loves you, but I could understand why.
I know that he loves you, and he even texted me like, oh my God, I hope Fez wasn't hurt by anything. That's how much he loves you.
We all heard the real feelings.
I heard it, and I think that he loves you. I honestly do. I honestly believe that. Here's Jimmy. Jimmy, what's up?
Hey, Ron. Hey, I was wondering, I've been listening to you for a long time, and you always tell, really interesting stories about growing up outside of Philly, and I was curious, what would you say, like, the craziest thing you ever came across when you were, like, growing up during that time?
In what way? I mean, it's a strange question.
Well, because didn't you say once that, like, you were hit by, like, an adult or something? Like, I just remember you have really interesting stories.
I was a teenager, but I got knocked out by an adult when I was a teenager.
What is the bucket story?
Oh, because of the dead dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to tell that story. It's a terrible one. It's a terrible story. And it all goes back to showing that I lacked some kind of humanity as a child.
I love that.
I don't think I wanted to be considered a sociopath as somebody's. I will tell you this though: I had 4 kids get killed on my street from cars hitting them.
That's the big fear. It's not people taking them.
And another one turned, down the street, got turned into a special needs person.
Oh shit!
From a car hitting them.
Well, I'm gonna watch. That's what I watch for when my kids play outside.
It's those big automobiles that cause all the problems. Back in Fez's day, when you could get around by horse and buggy, that was a bit different thing. Whoa, Nelly.
You had to watch.
We had a kid in my neighborhood hit by the ice truck.
So sad.
That's sad.
Roy, Alabama. All right, let's go to Lewis in Moneymaker, Manhattan.
Hey, what's up, guys? I can remember when I was a kid in 4th grade, they freaking sent us home from school in a blizzard. They just told us to hold hands and just walk straight home. Don't stop anywhere. We couldn't see anything out there.
Just walking around in a blizzard?
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up in places where big snows would hit, right?
Yes. When I was little, though, and not being watched by an adult, I was in Washington, so nothing terrible happens in Washington. Except racism is alive there, people.
In Washington State?
Yeah.
I had no idea that.
My siblings, all of them, 2 of them married black guys. And it was...
Oh, people were racist about the interracial marriages. I was probably, before I saw a black person with a white person, I was already in the Midwest before I saw it. And I was like a little kid, I was in the carnival, and I see it, and I said to my brother, I must have been like 10 or 11, I go like, what is going on? And he goes, well, they're dating. I go, wait. How could they be dating?
How does that work?
Yeah, how could they possibly be dating? As stupid as that sounds, I literally had to say to him, what's going on?
Both of my sisters quickly got pregnant and then had to get married. And so I started dating a black guy, and I wouldn't sleep with him because I was afraid it was like this heredity thing that the minute black sperm.
That's smart. Anybody teach your kids about a condom?
Well, we haven't gotten there yet, but it's coming up.
Everybody think it's weird that your husband is
A white
guy?
It's a celebration for my dad.
He's like the Kardashian. That one Kardashian is married to a white guy, and everybody finds it to be weird.
What are you doing?
What are you nuts? Here's let's go over here to Justin. Hey, Justin.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
I grew up in a generation where when we would walk home from school or we'd just be out till, the sun went down, basically. If you got the crap kicked out of you and you got a black eye and came home, your parents wanted to know who did it and then send you back out there and kick his ass. And I think now our kids are just so sheltered. I mean, I work with high school students, and technology takes over so much where these kids don't know what it's like to grow up on the streets or grow up where they have to really defend themselves in life. And I just think that that's a parenting thing. So if you want to let your 6-year-old go around the corner but wait for them, I don't think that's a big deal at all.
I honestly do think that it changed with cable news. I think once you start to see on cable news that there was a kid missing in, Phoenix, the people in Massachusetts we better keep our kids close.
In Phoenix.
Yeah.
Because that guy's going to come. He's going to cross state lines.
They're
He's
just
come
grabbing people. It happens everywhere. It
makes me nuts.
Bill in Boston. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, Michele, I don't know you or your family, but I'm going to judge you anyway.
Good.
If you let these kids out in the wild like this, who knows? They may turn into little Shelby someday. And we know how fucking terrible Shelby is.
But they could turn into a Fez or a Ron, too. Or a Chris. Or a me.
Anything could happen. It's really out of your hands.
It is. I'm just here to guide them outside.
Hey, Dean in Pittsburgh.
Ron, $1 million. Hey, this obsession over safety. Kids don't even walk to the bus stop now. They'll get picked up at their door.
That makes me crazy.
Yeah, if you get behind a school bus, it's maddening. It is fucking maddening because they stop at every fucking door.
There was at my little elementary school, you either had the kids who walk to school or the kids take the bus. Then there was this one kid, Jeffy, whose mom used to drop him off and pick him up. And, he was basically treated like a freak because he used to sit out front with his mom until the bell rang. And we were just like, what is with that dude? And now he's won. The world looks like him instead of everyone else.
Everyone's going to be a Jeffy.
Everybody's a Jeffy right now.
Jeffy.
And one time his mom, she rolls down the window, she goes like this. Hey, Ronnie, come on over. And I come over to the car and she goes like this. Could you play with Jeffy? Because nobody plays with him. I go like this. If I play with Jeffy, people see me doing it.
And they're going to call me Ronnie.
Yeah, I got my own thing I got to worry about, okay? Now, do me a favor. You got a light? Because, no, I don't have anything. Here's Kim. Kim, go ahead.
Hey, Ronnie, did this ever happen to you, anything like this? When I was about 14, we lived in this little town, about 18 houses. This woman moved in with her daughter, and I mean to tell you, she was like smoking hot. And I spent like a week over there just doing stuff for her, mowing her yard, stuff, before I actually realized that she ain't going to do nothing with a 14-year-old kid. But, she was so smoking hot, I just couldn't leave. I thought, man, my mom and dad would go, where are you going all the time? They'd let us out at sunup, and we'd come home at sundown. They're always going, where are you going all the time? Well, just going over to Ron's house, or we're just going over to rescue.
When I was in 6th grade, a friend of mine, his parents were divorced. His mom was British, right, with short hair, and she was unbelievably sexy to me as a kid. and she let us smoke cigarettes.
Oh.
And I'm just like, this house is so sophisticated, unlike the squares I'm living with. The women, and she would say, you know, you guys got cut back a little bit. And when they moved, like, I was like, I was more distraught about her moving than the kids. They also broke into this candy store, and they robbed it in the middle of the night. It was right outside Rap's, my friend's Rap window, so he was making up. So all they did was rob all the candy, right? They had these 2 big trash bags of candy that they kept behind this wall in their cellar, and then we would go down there and eat candy as if we had drugs. Like, this is unbelievable. We're just overdosing. And it's like I got to be part of that without being a B&E artist, you know? They were out of their minds. I don't, you know, I can't even believe that we live in a world that somebody would act like you're doing something wrong, Michele. Tell you the truth. Ted.
Hey, boys. Bet $1 million. I just wanted to say, all these people calling in to criticize Michele, like, I got my first kid on the way right now, but what do you think is more harmful? Like, the infinitesimal chance that something bad, like somebody might snatch them, or having them live their life with a massive case of anxiety because their parents are pounding it into their head? The world is not safe. Nothing is safe. You need to be afraid at all times. Like, doesn't that have harm too?
Right. You're not allowing them to have a childhood.
Do your kids get to play with anyone though? Does anyone else let their kids go out?
Well, they do, but they're out with them. So
Yeah.
it's perfect for me.
Right. Works out for everybody.
Jim across the street's mom's out. Why don't you go play over there? There was something happened at school where they had when they talk to kids, it's auditorium thing, whatever, and
Cafetorium.
Yes.
Half cafeteria, half auditorium.
And it smells still. But they were talking about cancer to the kids, and I didn't know they were going to talk to the children about cancer. So my son comes home, and he was like, I have to give all my money to this cancer thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because there was no handouts. And I was more upset that I just wasn't able to talk to him beforehand or afterward, knowing what they were talking about. I don't care what they talk about with my kids, because I believe that they know what they're doing. Just let me know. So that I was upset about that. That was the extent of it. There's a point to the story. So I go online. Someone on Facebook says, can anyone fill me in on what this was? And they told us and blah, blah. And then I was like, yeah, it would have been great if we'd known. Cut to the same woman who was complains to me about the fact that her kid and my kid are eating on the floor in some classroom and how horrific that is. I'm like, they're fucking kids. Of course,
Right.
They can eat wherever they want. I don't care. They eat dirt now. They eat their boogers. Like, what are you talking about? So I unfortunately opened the door by complaining once about something that actually mattered, and now this woman wants to be my friend.
That is the other weird thing. Is like when you have kids, like the other parents think like, hey, we should get together.
No.
I've literally said that when my kids were young. I'm like, no.
Yeah, this woman invited me to her birthday party, and I was like, no.
Because to me, when another couple says, hey, we should get together to do something, you feel like you're being hit on as a couple. You're like,
is this going to turn into a foursome?
It just feels that way. But it's like, hey, we should all go out and do something. You're like, yeah, let's plan a play date for the adults, you fucking weirdo.
I have friends.
Yeah. I have friends, and they're much fucking cooler than you with your nerdy kid. Here is Randy, Strong Island.
Hey, guys. Love the show. Like to talk about the kids not being allowed to do anything anymore. You're not allowed to let your kids out. It's ridiculous. When I was a kid, if you lived within a mile of my school, they wouldn't even send the bus for you. You had to walk if you lived within a mile of the school.
When did it change?
I'm telling you, cable news changed everything.
So like 87?
Yeah, and somewhere in the mid-'80s, people got so weirded out from watching some of these things on the news. You know, the guy that his son Adam was grabbed in a store and beheaded, and you hear stuff like that, and you're just like scared from it, and you just say to yourself, I don't want my kid to be beheaded. It's at the store.
Because that would be terrible.
Because I also remember that when I would go like to the store with my mom, I would just read while she was shopping. I would go over and just read magazines while she was shopping. I didn't have to be with her the whole time.
Because why should you have to be with her the whole time?
Or sometimes I would just take time to ride on the escalator at the mall. You go around and do your shopping. I've got escalators to ride.
We had a creep in our department store who wouldn't let you ride the escalator if you were by yourself.
Ugh. Probably read those stories.
It's really, really, it's really strange that it has changed so much. Because if everybody looks back at their childhood, have you ever said, I had so much fun on a play date while I was being watched by adults? It's the same thing. Like my sister-in-laws are always going, we're going from karate to and none of that is playing either. That's organized.
Right.
I learned how to play. Maybe I'm the last generation who played sandlot baseball long before I went and played Little League baseball. And I learned, yes, do you also cuss there, and did you get into fights with each other? Yeah, but that was all part of it as well. We were down the end of the street.
You have to play to learn. Like that's what we're losing sight of, is that's how children get their cognitive. That's how you learn. Like it's not through this organized bullshit. It's through getting out there and getting dirty and just swearing at each other and throwing each other down and being horrible to each other. Like, you have to get through that.
And that's how it was for you and your sisters?
Oh, fuck yeah.
See, that makes me worried that the kids would grow up to date black kids.
Wait. They were horrible to me. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
See, it was good for me.
Here's John. Go ahead, John.
Hey, buddies.
Yeah.
Ron, I was very fortunate. I grew up on a military base when I was a kid, and I only knew military children. It was a very safe place to be. And like you said, times changed. The media got involved. And when I had a daughter, as she got older, I'm one of those parents, unfortunately or fortunately, that has a very attractive, older than they look daughter. And I've given her 3 rules to live by. Number 1, don't yell help. Yell fire, fire, fire until you can't speak no more. Number 2, I need a lawyer. Don't talk to anybody. And number 3, do whatever you're going to do because I'm not going anywhere with you. Fortunately,
what part does that mean at the end?
I lost that part.
Yeah, I got lost of it, but it is weird because you can't make everything. You can't make the world safe. You can't just sit and put Nerf over everything. So it's a bouncy house instead of a planet. Bruce.
Hey, let me put this cheesesteak down, Ronnie.
I'm fucking starving.
By the way, Michele, congratulations on doing the right thing as a parent. My kids are close to 30, and I let them do that shit, but I grew up in Delco with Ronnie. I would leave the house in the morning and go, I'll be back. And my parents would go, where are you going? I go, outside. I just would go outside. That's what you would do. You would get up in the morning, leave, have lunch with whoever's mother opened the door, and made lunch for everybody, right? It's fantastic.
I felt the same way, and like that was always a joke with my parents that they would do an impression of me. Where'd you go? Out. What you doing? Nothing. Because
Outside, yeah.
I didn't feel. I like to keep my world separated a little bit. Then
don't mix them.
When are you going to be back? Well, I'll be back later. It wasn't all that hard. Now you're talking about night games and playing at night. We would have 6 guys and play football in the street at night under the streetlights.
It wasn't considered like even reckless behavior or crazy. It's just being outside.
But Ronnie, when you said you played stickball and a car would go down the street and you would tap the back, tap the bumper shit, the first time you did that when you were a little kid, right? I get to play stickball now with the older kids. I get to tap on the back of the car because you watch the kids and I go, I don't think I could ever do that. And you go, bang, bang, bang. We played at night also with Delta. We played a game called Belt. I don't know if you ever played that game, Ronnie.
Well,
Belt. Well, someone took a belt off and hit it. And whoever found it got to whip the kids with the belt until they got the face. It was almost like cows, but with a belt, and you got to whip the kid. But you couldn't whip them with the buckle.
No, that's insane.
Well, every game's got to have rules.
But it's like playing Spartacus. It's the game we're playing today is Spartacus, everybody. All right, thanks, Bruce.
See you later, Brian.
Peace.
Have a good day.
There is no doubt that there is a difference between, you can tell who was a back in the day kid because it was not considered weird to do any of these things.
Well, my mom's 85.
Mm-hmm.
She was much older when she had me. She grew up during the Depression. And I think that also might color my worldview as well.
Yeah.
But I know that it's cable TV, and the grandparents now are more afraid because there's so much more on TV. It just makes me like, who's going to stop and think, wait, why aren't we stopping and thinking rather, wait, this is not an epidemic. It's just reality.
It was the opposite with my family. My grandmother, if we were over at her house, she would never let you go outside. And then my mother just, would try to shove me out the door.
And wasn't
I
it so
hated
hot in that grandparents' house? I hate grandparents' houses.
It was hot everywhere. It was Florida.
Oh, true.
But my grandmother would insist that if I left her house, I would either get beat up by the mean boys or a horse would kick me.
But did she mean the straight boys?
I'm sure that's what she meant.
I'm not busting balls here, but I bet you were such a soft, sensitive boy that a grandmother would worry about you going out and play,
Yeah, and I never wanted to anyway. I just wanted to stay in and watch my reruns.
They weren't reruns then. They were first time. When you saw Lucy... No, I'm not making it up. You saw Lucy in the first run. Here's Mike. Mike, you're on the Run of Fez show.
Yeah, hey, guys. I spent a lot of time running these roads down in Wisconsin, out in the country, and I've interacted an awful lot over the years with the Mennonites. I think they're Mennonites. They could be Amish. They don't buy into any of this stuff at all because, man, their kids run the roads wild. Like, I remember last year seeing 3 kids running. It must have been late spring. They're running up the road at about 7 in the morning, carrying their shoes, running in their bare feet, living like it's the 1800s. And, these kids, they have no fear of the outside, and they could probably kill a pig and build a chair. And I just wonder what the statistics are on those kids getting grabbed by actual strangers. I don't think it happens.
Well, we haven't seen it on the news, so it's not happening.
They certainly haven't seen it.
It's really weird. The one place that I told my kids they couldn't run around was the mall. Like, when they're like, hey, we're all going to the mall, I'm like, no. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, because mall kids are so uncool. You know what I mean? Like, the only reason to be at the mall is to shop. And if you're going to be like an asshole hanging out at the mall,
I want a part of that.
Yeah, just disgusted me. Kurt Metzger's here. Should we break first?
Yes, we should.
All right. We'll be right back. You going to hang out with us a little bit today?
If you'd like.
You know Kurt?
I will meet him now.
You're going to be getting along great with him.
Oh, I hope he has children.
He's one of the funniest people in the world. Also, we got some guests coming up later, Fez.
Jay Mohr will be calling in to talk about his Showtime special.
We've got some guests coming on today. A little later on in the show.
Jane Krakowski is going to be stopping by. She's from the new show Unbreakable, Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix. And Richie Furay is coming in to talk about his new album, Hand in Hand.
We'll be right back. It's the Ron and Fez show.
Ron and Fez on Raw Dog. Raw Dog Comedy. Hits. Channel 99.
I guess that's the end of our house band today. We're back into the regular rejoiners. Look who just stopped in with us, Fez.
Kurt Metzger is here. He is... Let's see, I lost everything
He's
here.
right there.
Hey, there he is. The Race Wars podcast, hosted by Kurt and Gerard Small. That's available on iTunes and SoundCloud.
Yeah.
And Kurt's special, White Precious, that's available on Amazon.com, at Kurt Metzger on Twitter.
Yeah.
And are you, I just saw you on that Madison Square Garden show with JB.
Oh, for
dinner
courses or something?
Dinner courses, yeah. But you're doing more writing than even performing now.
Yeah, I always just doing more writing. I'm trying to be on the road more, which I am a little bit more on the road. But I keep getting these jobs, so I got to take them because I need the money. So I can't say no.
Would you say that writing pays better than stand-up?
It pays me better than stand up because nobody knows who the hell I am. So that I don't make like ticket sales like that. If I could sell out everywhere I went, then it would pay me a lot more than writing.
But are we still in a place where people can make money writing for the kind of shows that you're running? Like, could you make a living?
I mean, I do make a living, so it's okay, and I'm free. I'm not on, I don't have a very specific day job. Like, I freelance mostly. I mean, Schumer is like my day job, but that's only a few months out of the year. So, next thing I got to do is some punch-ups on something.
Writing for Schumer, I told you this last year. I think it was the funniest variety show on TV. And I think that's starting to be understood as a gimme. But what is writing for that show like? Does everybody in the room together? Do you write sketches and bring them in?
Oh, right. Well, you have your pitch day, and then you pitch. They tell you what they like. Then you write the sketch, and then everybody writes on it after you do your first and second draft. So pretty much everybody at some point writes on everything. But certain things will be your idea.
I would love just to come to work with you one day just to see how it's done. I would love to be there when the pitching and they're going on, and then see what the final
I like
sketch
that. I like that whole process. I like how I don't know how this is only a sketch show I've ever written for, so I don't know how everybody else does it.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, because we have people that used to be on SNL writing for it, so from what they tell me, it's a pretty good environment for
Who's the ones who say, yes, this is what we're going to use? It's Amy, I'm assuming.
Amy, Jesse Klein is the head writer, and then Dan, the producer.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Amy's really the ultimate, I would say.
But it doesn't look like she has any problem with you making fun of Amy. Some of the sketches are so brutal on her.
They're always, she's a monster, or she's a racist or something. Yeah.
You did one last year, I think, or maybe it was even the year before, that had to do with her watching people talking about what they liked and didn't like about the show. And people were like, I'd probably fuck her. And she was like, oh, so that's a good,
that was my sketch,
It was brilliantly funny.
That was there's a bunch of them where they're like her idea, and she just tells me to write them, and then I just can write them how I want. And that was it was Bronco, the guy that would bang her.
I'd bang her. It was so funny. All right, so now it's still. So this has a life outside of your stand-up. That's got to be really cool for you.
It's just good to get steady income, man.
But you know what all the comics say about you?
What?
Everybody always says that from day one, you wrote true material. You know what I mean? Like, you could write material very well.
I mean, it wasn't that good. I was just better at writing than I was at performing it when I started, Like, somebody told me, my ex-girlfriend told me it looked like I wanted to stand behind a curtain and just tell the jokes and not be seen by anybody. Like, that's how bad.
Yeah.
That's why I those black rooms, that really helped me because it really beat the preciousness out of me,
Yeah.
I would be a real cardigan wearing, big glasses kind of comic,
Right.
If it had not been for just like a kind of audience that forces you to be in the moment,
It kept you from being one of those comedy nerd guys.
Yeah, because I am that for sure, like deep down, and that just beat it right out of me, which is the best thing for me.
You and Jay did those rooms, and it's so weird to me to think that you guys just came up working in front of black audiences for years and years and years.
Well, Jay really looked like he belonged there when I got there. He was like an overall.
I'm dying.
He had
already dying.
He had like an overall with one leg up and all. He had every stupid style. I don't know if did you ever tell you that when he was young, like any dumb fad that came out, and the worse it was, he would pressure his grandma to get it for him. So he had original MC Hammer pants first day of 8th grade, like gold. Exact replica Hammer pants, and his mom told me, his mom and stepdad were like crying telling me this story. He came down the stairs with these pants on, and they laughed so hard he just turned around and went upstairs and took them off. I never wore that. They were like $150 pants his grandma had to buy. But Yeah, I just look like I was going to Art Institute of Philadelphia, so I just look like a real suburban whitey white kid, like all the time in there. And then he was the only other white guy, so I guess that's how we.
So you were at the Art Institute doing what? You were going to be
animator.
Yeah.
Which is pretty tedious work.
Have you lost interest in that, or is that
completely?
Still there?
I mean, I write for animation sometimes, but I don't draw at all anymore. I lost every. I don't know. It's like the difference between snorting heroin and shooting it. I guess. Like I get much
now
more
I relate.
of a.
Now I relate.
Let me put it in terms.
But that's great that you're able to do this and the stand up at the same time.
Well, that's because I don't have a steady. If I worked for SNL or something, I would really probably cut down my stand up because that's like a harder. I'm lucky because I don't have to. A lot of these jobs are not so hard that you can't do other stuff. So. But lately, just my time's been eaten up. I've been working on that roast for Bieber. So that's just like all day long having to just think about Justin Bieber. Like, I can't wait to just never think about him ever again.
Me too.
Yeah. Along with most of the country, I'm guessing.
I think it's going to be the biggest roast of all time because you're going to have the people who just like to roast, and it's always a very large number. But then there's going to be a large number of young girls who have never seen a roast in their life and are going to be shocked. There's going to be 1 million people that are mad at each.
There's going to be so much anger.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of
curl anger.
Well, it's just everybody that loves or hates him will be watching that. That's going to be a
you'll get the same
audience.
people that tune into NASCAR to watch a wreck, just hoping he cries.
I hope so.
But it was his idea. Like, he's dying to do this. You know what I mean?
Because his career is dying?
No, I don't think his career is
he
dying.
going back? I just hate him.
He's losing. Well, I'll tell you what, 'cause this is what I noticed from not really knowing that much about him other than he was like, whatever to me, because I'm an adult, not a pedophile. But when he was a little kid, I'm watching these little videos of him, like when he was like 2. Yeah. He's like an adorable kid who's clearly very talented. And then you can see the transition where he turns from like just lovable to like a kid that hangs outside Wawa in Jersey.
Exactly.
But this is like all of our nephews, but it happens in public. But remember that you had nephews who's like, I can't wait to see him. He's so fun. And then when you just go over there, he's like, what's up? You're just like, never mind.
That transition
never mind.
Yeah, that real non-threatening sexuality for young girls is what he was putting out there. Now it's
what is it?
Now he's just a lustful.
He's like a guy who hangs out at a mall, like how you were saying you don't want your kids to be.
He's just a tattooed, lustful fucking kid. I think it's amazing. I see some pictures of him that he reminds me of Elvis at the same age. Like Elvis. Elvis's like army years were kind of weird. You know what I mean? And that's where he is now.
That's when Elvis was exploring his sexuality too.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Elvis have to like sleep in a bed with his mom? And
Elvis used to cuddle up with his mom, but then remember he went away and fell in love with like a 12-year-old and took her home and kept her and convinced the parents, like, okay, my mom's going to be there, my dad's going to be there, it's going to be okay, everything's okay. And the dad was like a general and he's like, okay, Elvis.
Sounds good. You want some peanut butter and banana?
Yeah. And I don't know how they got away with it then. And then what he did to her that was amazing? He dyed her hair and did her eyes so she looked like Elvis. He went
That's
and
the hottest part of that story.
He transformed her into himself.
Wasn't that the Liberace thing? We got that guy all that surgery so he could look like Liberace.
Yeah.
So he could fuck himself.
So he could.
That's my favorite thing about Liberace.
It's just one of my favorite things about Liberace. Go to like Elvis and Scylla, like when they married, like 1968 or something, and see how much they look alike. And do that and not make memes. Look at her. She looks like Elvis.
Is that Priscilla Presley?
Yeah.
Boy, she was so hot before she chopped her face.
Did
Even
she
in her
fuck up
older
her
years, she was hot before she did that.
She's a lovely woman.
Because she had
a lovely
to look,
Elvis-looking woman.
Yeah. And then his daughter was beautiful. His granddaughter was beautiful. He's got once the Elvis sperm gets into the DNA, it's now the weird thing is, if you ever saw Elvis's mom and dad, you're like, I don't know how they had that beautiful boy.
Oh, I've never seen them.
Yeah. They were just like these, just real sharecropping looking people.
Didn't somebody from Led Zeppelin like technically kidnap a girl who was 13, and she just lived with him for a while. Do you remember that?
The name's Jimmy Page, but you know
Right.
the thing is,
was it Jimmy Page? Was he the one? That
I
did it?
think so. I'm not sure, but the thing is, I'm sure there was so much of that. Like Elvis's parents did not. There's nothing exceptional looking about him.
That's all.
That could be Justin Bieber, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, he does look like Justin. I always want to do this thing of every bad movie Elvis did in the 60s because he was doing like 3 a year.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were 3 musicals a year.
Right.
And they were just as bad as hell. Just clam bake followed by some
Hawaii.
What was the boat racing one where you found that new stuff you paint on boats to make them go extra fast? And you had to sing a song about it?
I'm go real fast.
Yeah.
It's just like they just walked through everything. Just whatever, man. They're buying it.
I thought he was embarrassed by his movies, but he would like he'd have everybody over to watch him in his house, like Al Capone did with his movies.
Some of them, I think, he just shot at his house, like he didn't go on location. Like the one where he's a cliff diver, it looks like he's just in front of Green Street. Like he never was anywhere near. That one is my favorite because it's so nuts that they act like a little 5-year-old is his friend. He's like hanging around with like a little kid.
Yeah.
And
He's a little Polynesian kid.
Yeah, he's like Paco, you're gonna be my manager. But the funny thing is, Elvis was sitting, so his dick is almost in the kid's face throughout the entire movie. They're just stunningly great, and you can't really see them anywhere else except for Turner Classic. And I'm telling you right now, I'd skip my kid's christening if an Elvis movie came out. I'd be like, we can't leave. It's an Elvis movie. He's always got these jobs, like you said. He's a race car driver. He's a motorcycle guy. He's underwater demolition. He's a helicopter pilot. He never worked in an office.
He just needs to find love in these movies. My favorite movie of a band of all time or a musician is "Can't Stop the Music" with the Village People.
That's a over the top one.
That's amazing because that was I think it was like rated G or PG.
Yeah,
and they actually there's a full frontal dick shot at one point at the YMCA. Like, I don't know whose family this movie would be appropriate for.
And like Bruce Jenner is in that movie.
Yeah, and Bruce Jenner's in it.
And you just like put Bruce Jenner in that and just watch the shorts that Bruce Jenner wears.
Oh, it's beautiful.
He wears these.
He should have transitioned at this point in his life.
Oh,
look at him!
Wow.
That's the
And
closest
that's
he was
his
going to
half
get.
shirt that he's wearing.
Did he tuck his penis?
And
No,
there's
look at that thing.
There's Steve. Hey, I'll get into anything. Gutenberg.
Oh, Steve Gutenberg's the best in this. And then there's this chick in here with curly hair who looks like Dr. Frankenfooter from from Transylvania.
Now, Fez.
Yes.
You being a gay guy, does anyone on this screen seem hot to you? Or does this look like Halloween?
It does. There's nobody that I would say, yeah, there's the cute one.
Not even Bruce Jenner?
Bruce Jenner's the best looking one in this group.
What about the Puerto Rican Native American?
I don't know what that's all about.
It's cultural appropriation when he wears that.
Even the bleach blonde behind Bruce Jenner here.
That's a construction worker. Construction worker.
That's construction worker?
Yeah, he just don't have his hat on.
Oh, so I didn't recognize him.
I've seen this movie dozens of times. Like,
Yeah.
It's really pretty. It's
Do you get stoned doing it, or just watch it straight?
just till I come. I get
no one watches it straight. That's for sure.
It's just hysterical. Some movies are so bad. It's hard to find a bad movie that's worth watching bad, you know?
Yeah.
And this is like hits every note of it's worth watching because it actually sucks.
But you enjoy it on some level, right?
Yes,
On some level,
it's incredible how much it was thrown. And this is at the end of their popularity when they made this movie, too. So people had already stopped caring about the Village People at this point. So there was no reason for it.
Yeah, that's the problem with that is like you make it, and by the year that it comes out, the year that it takes, in a pop group career, everything could disappear, you know? So then it's gone.
I think a lot of them, when they get around to making their movie, see, Elvis at least got to make those during his peak.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these groups make the movie when you already don't give a shit. That's when they finally get their movie made, you know? And it's like a joke about them. That's what this is. This movie's great. You got to see Steve Gutenberg. He's supposed to be a great in anything, but in this, he's like a brilliant composer. He's playing the guy that discovered the Village People. So it's all about him like quitting his job because he's going to be a musical genius.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I would play some of the songs from it if I had them for you.
You know, Jay Mohr is on us on right now, and he actually says in his special, there are no guilty pleasures. You just have pleasures.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I agree with that. One of the funniest human beings in the world today. Tell everybody when he's going to be doing, Fez.
Jay's new special, Jay Mohr, Happy and a Lot. That premieres tomorrow night. That's March 14, 10 p.m. Eastern on Showtime.
Jay Mohr.
You gonna tell me that guy's gonna decide out of the blue to rip us off? I'm in a hotel lobby and everybody's looking at me like I've lost my damn mind. That's your story. You're sticking to it.
I love this.
He could have said my dad. Stop pointing that gun at my dad.
Ronnie B, no joke. I'm in a hotel in San Francisco, and everybody's there. It's a nice, laconic morning brunch crowd.
You're doing it. You're doing a nice guy Eddie for him. First of all, congratulations on the special, dude.
Very proud of it. Happy and a lot. Every day when I pick my kid up at preschool, they got this little report card. It says mood, and the lady writes happy. And it says lunch, and she checks a yes box, but she feels free to handwrite and add on, and a lot. I don't know if you've seen pictures of my 3-year-old, Ronnie. He is the world's strongest toddler. If you check out Instagram, have somebody in studio pick up Instagram.com/JMoreSports. You can, first of all, he does a Tracy Morgan impression, which you'll enjoy. It's not the average 3-year-old who clears the couch. When he's standing behind the couch, Ronnie B, you would think a 3-year-old, you would see the top of their head, right? He puts his arms over the back of the couch. He's a tank, and I'm very happy to announce he is the first pick in the NFL draft. He's defensive end now for the Houston Texans. We're very happy about it.
Now, the thing is, your wife isn't big, right? Is there big people in your family?
No, it's a freaky thing. The men in my family are like 6'2", 6 foot. Like I'm 5'11". I'm the shortest guy in my family, but he is just a tank. There's a video on Instagram where we're at the pumpkin patch, and there's like buckets filled with pumpkins in a wagon, and this 3-year-old child with Lenny Dykstra forearm is just pulling the wagon.
We're watching it now.
Okay,
he's a monster.
Ronnie, look at the grown-ups in the background pulling the same wagon with difficulty.
That's hysterical.
And he's also yanking it with his left hand. But it's just so excited to have this.
How about the grown-up in the background of that video pulling the exact same thing with difficulty?
Yeah.
The 3-year-old, how about Ronnie? How about when I teach that kid a swim move in the pass rush?
Oh man.
He looks like Bam Bam from...
He's amazing.
Keep an
that
eye.
is J.J. Watt at 3 years old.
Keep an eye on the knees and the ankles. Keep them healthy there.
Yeah, you gotta ice him up. It's like a thoroughbred. You don't want to spook that kid.
Dude, my in-laws are Maori from New Zealand. Like Samoans from New Zealand.
Yeah, I saw the piano. Take it out.
Well, so they're all gigantic, dude. They look like
talking at the same time. I remember in the movie Piano. Every guy telling me the Maoris get the piano off the beach. Carried up 4 flights of mountains. God forbid, Arthur Keitel goes, "Hey, maybe you guys need a little help with that."
Do you do Keitel, Jay?
Who's going to be okay? Ronnie B, how do you let him ask me that?
You know what? He's a fresh-faced kid, and let him be this way. But
what's his name?
You don't know who we're on with here today? This is Kurt Metzger.
Kirk.
Hey, man.
I don't know what you think you know. Maybe you have not been in touch with Joe. Ronnie B and I go back a long time. Ronnie B is a good kid. I remember when Fezzi got shot in the gut. Maybe you didn't know.
Wait for Joe.
The gut is the most painful place a man could be shot, but Kurt, you don't die from your wounds. You're going to wish you were dead.
By the way, if I could do this is all I would be doing. I wouldn't do anything else but Keitel. That would be it.
Kurt, I'm sorry, are you a doctor? Are you a doctor?
Yeah.
Answer the question.
Jed, do you ever get there's one that you
Are
want?
you a doctor?
No,
he's
not a doctor. Larry, no, Larry.
If you're not a doctor, then you admit your medical opinion means nothing.
Has there ever been an impression you wanted to do and you couldn't get to it?
Who's going to be okay?
Jay, has there ever been an impression you wanted to do but you just can't scratch that?
McConaughey, I cannot figure out McConaughey.
That's weird.
And I just can't do it. I can't figure out. I can do the barefoot Contessa from the Freaky Food Network. No, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
How bad could that be? Don't have too much fun without me. But for some reason, when I try to roll out, all right, it's just sounds like some guy on the street doing McConaughey.
Yeah, it sounds like anybody.
Nah, yeah, and we're not in the anybody business, honeybee. That's
No.
why you and I sound like $1 million.
That's
you sound like $1 million. But you know what? Today, in the last couple of days, Fezzy, $1.5 million, buddy.
I know. Fez has been a beast. Fez has been a beast lately.
I was happy in a lot yesterday.
Free agency frenzy. I think Fezzy just signed with the Eagles.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait and before I start to cry. I'm not going to admit that it's happening yet.
How about that lunatic Stephen A. Smith on ESPN insinuating that Chip Kelly's a racist, and that's why those three guys left town. He goes, hold on a second. Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, they're all gone. Jeremy Macklin, but Riley Cooper's your kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then he actually said, I'm on the streets in Philly, and brothers are coming up to me going, hey, man, what's up with Chip? It's like, first of all, you're in Bristol, Connecticut. You're in Bristol, Connecticut. You did not take a private jet to Gino's Cheesesteak and on the sidewalk, and brothers did not come up to you and go, hey, man, what's up with Chip? If anything, the brothers on the streets of Philly probably said, burr.
They were cold. They were cold.
Thank you, Rodney. You've crystallized my thoughts eloquently and succinctly.
By the way, I've never seen anyone else ever do this in a comedy special. You admit up front that your wife writes with you. That you guys
My wife wrote this special.
Is that
written
right?
By Nikki Cox, performed by Jay Mohr. And she's been writing so much of my act for so long. I've told you that for so long.
Yeah.
All those bits about Dateline ID, the murder shows. If you want to stay in love, you don't have to have similar interests. You got to have similar hates. That's all been my wife all down the line the whole time. And I was like, you know what? The best bits for 60 Minutes were the ones that she wrote. So, you know what? Give her a credit. And I think that's going to be pretty cool. Like, when it says written by Nikki Cox, I think it's going to be... I'm, excited that people are going to go, whoa, wait, really? Yeah. Really?
Oh, I think it's never been done before.
What?
That to say, oh, my wife wrote this for me.
I'll tell you what, my girl helps me out with a lot of stuff.
Does
I
she?
usually could, yeah. I mean, if you
Ronnie,
have
I have a new impression I'd like to try out for you, of course. It's your old friend Russell Brand. Kurt, who is this man, Kurt? This beautiful man. He's got a beautiful smile, sort of like an idiot staring at the sun. He's empty inside, but what's beautiful? Look, I'm doing stand-up comedy. That's my job. I'm a bit of a gypsy. And Kurt is in New York City, but here we are. There's amazing lines of communication, underground cables. We're talking. We're connected. 2 arts. Beaton is one. And I'm hoping to go upstairs to my hotel room, and with my wife, a beautiful little redhead, Lilliputian in size, really, I'm going to make a beautiful white ribbon of a fuvula across her breast. One day, she'll nurse a baby. Well, life will come from them breasts. But in the meantime, I'm going to ruin them with my ejaculate.
This is actually...
That's a good Russell
Yeah,
Brand.
it's unbelievable.
That's pretty fucking
You could
good.
actually get away calling people with this one.
Thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate it, and I do like calling people, mostly by their names. Like, I would say to you, Ronnie, and you would say, what is it, Russell? And then we'd have a conversation. Fezzy,
That's the entire act.
I remember Fezzy was in times of trouble and toil, and I wish I could have reached out to him and given him great love and held him close to my heart, because I love him. He's my mate. And look, it's all just a collective consciousness that we're all dealing with, Fez, and the troubles that you're dealing with. You have to ask yourself, in this moment, what is lacking? And if you ask yourself, and if you are completely present and disengage yourself from the corporate conglomerate hole that we are all wedged into together, Fez, you will realize that in this moment, what is lacking? The answer is nothing, except for a white fuvula across my wife's breast.
I love Russell Brand even more now.
I appreciate that, Fez. You're a beautiful man from Florida,
And I'm sorry your daddy did different things to you as hoses.
Did we ever figure that out, Fez? If something bad happened to you?
No, I mean, I got the sand washed out of my ass crack after a day at the beach, but...
You've never mentioned that.
You
That
never
happened to
got
you?
over it.
Yes.
Okay.
But
I've had sand washed out of my ass, honey. But I used prostitutes and heroin to get the job done.
Sure.
I never saw the practicality of a garden hose. I said, hey you, I have cocaine. Get to licking. Get all this sand out of me. I mean, what's the point of being in show business if you can't act like you're a dictator of a tiny village? That's why the Rolling Side Show is the #1 show in the world. You bring people together. Like George Bush, he may be a psychopath. Sure, mate. But you know what? He did say he's a uniter, not a divider. And that's what Ron Bennington is. Everything we all do, we're trying to be more like you, Ron. Because you're the truth, the light, and the way. There's no one way to greatness. Greatness is the way. Now, I think it's time one of your interns give me a blowjob.
Yeah, and they would. Jay, when are you coming back east?
Yes, sir, I'm back.
When are you coming back to New York?
You know, I don't know. Usually there's that Borgata, Foxwoods, you know, Gotham Comedy Club swing, and I took it off the plate this year. But I really miss you guys. Like, I miss hanging out. Like, people will tweet me like, hey, remember that time it was you, Ron, and Paul Reiser, and Opie, and Jimmy? And I'm like, I'll be alone, and I'll just be, like, laying in bed laughing. And my wife's like, you're an earthquake? I'm like, no, I just thought of something funny. It's like, I'm just thinking about Ronnie B going, take him to the zoo, Rock. Take him to the zoo, Rock.
I made that an uncomfortable day. I really did.
Hey, Jay, can I ask you a question?
So who is this now?
This is Kurt.
Pepper?
Pepper. This is Pepper. Hey, man, somebody told me a hilarious story about you tasing my old manager, Jason. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Jason Steinberg. We were at Peggy Sue's, and my friend came up to me and said, hey, I just bought a taser from this guy outside. And I went up, I said, well, let's see if it works. So I went up to Jason Steinberg, who's a lovely man and a good agent, good manager, and he's kind, and he does care about his clients, and I tased him in his ass. And he took a knee. And then I thought, well, what's this one knee? Like, flatten him out. So then I tased the other ass cheek, and he went flat. Now I know now, Ronnie, in hindsight, that's like a dick move. That's not something you're supposed to do. But that was the old me, where you go, hey, let's get loaded and tase our friend.
Yeah, let's just do the taser. We actually used to play spin the taser, remember, years ago, Fez?
Oh, yeah.
And we would just sit around and spin it. Whoever pointed it at had to take it. And I don't know why we thought that was worth entertaining people.
So
like,
you've been tased? You felt how is it? Like, I've never been tased.
It's like getting a shock. You ever put like your thumb in something like a lamp? Yeah.
Stuck my finger in a socket when I was a
The
kid.
man you just tased did 5 years in a federal prison. He just said my dad's name and walk.
Hey, Ronnie, my last Showtime special was the number, this is true, this is per Showtime, was the #1 rated white special for stand-up comedy. Because black comics, you know, black people really support black people. You know, Cat Williams and some more and all the... And so I want to break the color barrier, and I know we can do it. And I know we can do it. I don't want to be the #1 rated white stand-up comedy special. I want to burst through that ceiling, man. I want to be the #1 rated comedy special.
I think this is your best too, Jay. I watched it last night. It's really...
You saw it?
Yeah, I saw it already. The Interrobang had a link that they sent to it, so I said send it over to Ronnie B. There's a word that Fez you're going to be very happy with. You're going to be very happy with the way Jay treats gay people in this.
Very nice. I can't wait for tomorrow.
I don't want to use the word, Jay, but unless you want to give it away.
Do I say fag?
No, the arachno...
Oh, arachnohomophobia.
Arachnohomophobia, which really was hysterical.
I hate the word homophobia because phobia is a fear of something where a doctor prescribes, like, well, I've designated you're claustrophobic or you're afraid of spiders. And if I had a big bucket of spiders and I threw them at you, I could say, hey, let's go see Jay Mohr in concert in 5 years from now, and you would actually like kind of get like tears in your eyes and shake because that was the night I threw spiders on you when you have arachnophobia. But that's because you're afraid of them. But if I said, hey, this is
this is my friend Todd. He's gay. And I walked him up to you. You wouldn't go, and like run out the back of the room. You would be polite. You're not afraid of gay people. It's just not your thing. You shake his hand and say, where are you from? Oh, Boston. I love Boston. I spent some time in Southie in Dorchester, and you would talk, but just call it something else. Call it Republican. I don't know what you want to call it. Just don't say you're homophobic. You're not afraid of gay people. Yeah, you're afraid of. You're not afraid, but what if I had a bucket of gay spiders? Like, what if you had, and now we're up and running. Written by Nicole Avery Cox. What if I had a bucket of gay spiders? What if you had arachno homophobia? I had a bucket of gay spiders, and I was like, look at all these spiders. You couldn't run out because you'd have to respect them as gay spiders, and you have to shake their little furry legs. And you're like, oh, it's nice to meet you. Where are you from? How long have you and Jay been together? And on the drive home, you'd look at your wife and go, that spider was a fag, right?
It's so funny.
I was getting like a fag vibe from the spider.
Jay's new
special. And your wife would be like, he wasn't gay, he's married. He'd be like, that doesn't mean anything. You could be gay as a spider and have a wife.
Jay's brand new special is tomorrow night on Showtime at 10 p.m. Eastern. Jay Mohr, Happy and a Lot. You can go to show.com for more information on that.
Ronnie B.
Yeah.
I have to tell you this before I bounce. And every time I do my podcast, do my radio show, this is not lip service, and I've said it out loud on my podcast before. I am just trying to be more like you. You have set the bar. Look, I don't want to get sappy or all that.
Get sappy. Do it, Chad.
You are the wind beneath my wings.
And let me also just tell you what kind of guy Jay Mohr is, that he completely hung up on Chad Dukes in the middle of the interview so that he could call us.
No, I got disconnected. I
Chad already texted me and let me know that.
I'm in San Francisco in a cab driving around, and Chad Dukes falls out, and I go, all right, gee, that sucks, but it is time to call Ron and Fez.
Well, it's good to talk to you, buddy.
Ron Zero Fez.
I'll talk to you later, my man.
Hey, Fezzy?
Yes, sir.
1,000,005, buddy. I'm telling you.
Thank you, Jay Mohr. Make his special.
I would like to say goodbye to the chairman at the end of the studio, and I wish him well. And don't forget, love is the answer. Take the word God as we understood him, and replace God with love. And next time you pray to yourself, Namaste, the God that resides within me. I respect the God that resides within you. Now, if you don't mind, I would like some anal.
Jay Mohr, thank you, my friend.
Make his special the most watched comedy special of any of the races tomorrow night on Showtime. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's Jay Mohr, Happy and a Lot. 10 p.m. Eastern on Showtime Saturday night.
There's that thing that you like to do where you take something he said and put it into the plug. It's very exciting. This is very good.
Work it back in.
Yeah, work it back into the plug.
It's the announcer's version of the callback.
It's a solid Russell Brand he does.
It's unbelievable, Russell Brand.
I thought we were talking to Russell Brand.
I did that on Mass with Russell Brand for like an hour. It was literally that.
And he said exactly the same things
All
throughout
that fruit ball. Love is the only way.
Yeah. But you know what was funny about Russell Brand, and I'll never forget that? I had to get him from the green room into the chairs so we could start the interview. And Fez is doing the warm-up, and the people are clapping, and it takes me 15 minutes to get him because he would just see something else and go running over to it. Yeah, and it was like more, and I'm not even making this up, he was hitting on a nun. A nun was in, and he was going, oh, Jesus, too, and I love your blue eyes. He's doing this whole thing. I'm like, God. This, and it was working. Later, the nun said, I know some people were taking pictures of us. Could you send them?
Yeah.
Yeah, because...
Well, he looks like a young Jesus, you know?
There's something about him that women are just crazy about.
Because he looks like half a chick. That's the first
Is that
of it.
it?
Yeah.
It's like Elvis and Priscilla.
You got to have a little bit of that feminine, don't you?
He's got nice hips, Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Good grabbing hips. Like he'd do in a pinch if he were on an island. You could easily grab Russell Brand.
He really does look like Jesus. That's crazy.
Russell Brand is interesting, too, because he seems like he's doing his own thing in his own way. Like, he had the whole movie career, but then he just got way more into, like, the political stuff and being on YouTube. He's like, whatever.
I'm gonna start union.
Upworthy me.
Upworthy me.
By the way, I totally, that phobia thing, that bugs the fuck out of me, dude. The amount of, you could just throw phobia on the end of anything, and it's like an official word. It only takes like a couple days of that, and it's an official word, no matter how dumb it is.
If you hashtag it, it's an hour.
And people will do it with a holic, too. Like, I'm a chocoholic. You know you're not. Yeah, are you laying in a gutter? Have you destroyed your life because you're having some M&M peanuts? There's
My
real
guilty
people.
pleasures.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching some true crime show. It's about these kids that they wanted to like roll a gay guy in the park to so they beat this guy. They almost beat this guy to death. And then the announcer goes, "They'd never exhibited any homophobic behavior before." I'm like, really? Is that the emotion they had while they're ganging up on one man? Fear? They felt afraid? Not the guy being beaten?
That is true. That we use it that way, as if normally with the any kind of phobia, you're kind of the victim of it.
Yeah, I always took it as like it's the attitude of you're afraid they're going to move in next door to you.
Right.
You're afraid they're going to hit on you. You're afraid they're going to take their gay marriage into your church.
Right, but you never call anyone rapophobic because they raped somebody. Oh, he's a rapophobic. He's a woman. He's going to lay her out.
I think they can like misogyny. That should be what they apply to gays, and then the phobia should be applied to misogynists. I think people are afraid of women and they hate gays as opposed to the other way around.
I think there's some truth to that as well. How do you think most men feel about women? Most men like women or secretly dislike women?
I think they feel like, I mean, just as a group, I think that nobody like you might dislike specific women. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know who hates women. I've only met a couple of people where I'm like, oh, you got a real issue that, something with your mom where you now all the women have to pay.
Right.
Like a young, like how Shelby looks like a young Elliot Rodgers almost.
Okay, so in that angle, because I always see like guys acting like women are a hassle, and I'd always rather be with women.
I like
than with
us.
men. Really, you like women? Because a lot of women act like they turn on women.
I like us until we're stupid.
Yeah.
But that's the way I feel about men. So
that's still an individual thing,
right,
though.
it's just
not like a group.
I hate you now.
I think women have blown it for themselves because they always try to make it work for everyone. You know what I mean?
No.
And like guys like vote for like, how will that help me? Myself.
Right.
And women go like, hey, let's figure out how everyone wins.
Are you going to be able to get to work on time? I want to help you with that.
Right. So it's very hard to help everyone and be competitive at the same time. I think guys are either naturally competitive or it's been kind of bred into us.
Well, what do you think about? See, I don't believe that thing about. That Super Bowl, they had that ad for like little girls' confidence, like that commercial hashtag like a girl, and they're like, how do girls throw? And they're like, and then they talk about how female confidence plummets in middle school, and I guess I don't remember being so confident as a male in middle school.
Nobody's confident.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then that shit where they go, women lose interest in leadership. If you say bossy, remember when band Bossy came out?
And bit, bitch
Yeah, like
not great.
If someone calls you bossy and then you don't want to be a leader because you got called bossy, maybe you're not cut out to be a leader. Like I'm just going to venture to say that's probably a good test to see if you're fit. If I call you bossy and you keep going, I don't get the make it nice so everyone feels confident. I don't think that makes anybody stronger.
But in your in second or third grade,
right?
Across the board, weren't girls smarter than boys?
That's what I remember.
I was always like I copied off girls, not boys, and all the way up. But at a certain point, they lose that thing, and they end up promoting something else.
It's called puberty, isn't it? Isn't that what it is?
But that's the fear of that the like is so important. Being liked is so important as a female, whereas for a guy, I don't think it's as important.
No, that's what I think it is because guys are told, all guys are like, hey, I'm a piece of shit, I'm a guy. That's how guys are taught to.
Yeah.
So once you feel like you're a piece of shit, then you can really achieve things because you got nothing to lose.
Right.
If you told you're like the special princess and you're like the better, my better half and all that kind of language, I think that's what makes people scareder to like do things.
Well, you can't fail. You're not allowed to fail.
Women are like if a woman's like, yeah, I'm a piece piece of shit. You'd be like, ew, why is a woman saying that? Yeah.
She's so pretty. Did you see her eyes?
And I think that's what the inequality is that like women aren't free to just be a piece of
shit.
Of garbage.
I feel free to be a piece of shit every day.
Here's the thing I think that we do to little girls when you're like, you better save that precious little gift for a perfect man.
Right.
You know what I mean? That precious little gift that you have, that's so important. That
little
glowing
thing between your legs.
That glowing little box between your legs. And they're like, what? What am I taking care of now?
And for the guys, they're like, find the biggest whore.
Right.
And fuck her.
Well,
if you don't, you're gay.
I had that in my hour. I talk about that because really the most precious virginity of any virginity is a straight man's asshole. That is the most sacred.
Yeah, that's true.
Of all, like my ass is worth 1,000 Mormon vaginas in terms of preciousness to the Lord. You know, because you might save your vagina for marriage, but I'm going to save my ass for no one.
No one.
Yeah, like Mother Teresa, it's back there.
Does she get back there?
Maybe a pinky.
Okay.
There'll be a pinky here and there, but not
and then
a
you'll
full
cry
man.
when she's little, like, ouch, it's too deep.
You went too deep.
I said around the rim.
With your tongue, not your finger.
My daddy. He's so difficult to talk to because he turns into, you know what was driving him crazy is that Kurt was talking.
Yes.
So Kurt was like talking, and he was just like,
And you know the people. He's
running around like
I know.
He's
Never
having
get
brunch too at the same time, so he's eating his eggs. and
never
people are
get
like,
in the way of an impressions guy. I forgot.
awesome.
he was just going insane. He wasn't even making
Who is that guy? Who is that guy?
Well, I was trying to tell him because his kid was so gigantic. I have an in-law with a baby, like one of those Bam Bam kids, and it's because the kid's half like Samoan. Like all those like kind of native island people, a lot of them are Mormons, and they play football for Utah. You know,
Yeah.
they go to
Brigham
Young. Yeah, and they're all these guys are like 300-pound, just gigantic dudes with like tiny voices of angels.
Yeah.
Like I bumped into him. I saw him. He goes, "No worries." Like it sounded like he swallowed a smaller New Zealander who was talking inside him. But he had the same gigantic kid with like shocking white hair who looked like a little caveman throwing his brothers around. Like I couldn't believe how big they are.
So do we ever get that thing? All right, this is Chad Dukes just sent this to us. He's our buddy, and he claims that Jay hung up on him in the middle of the call. Let's take a listen.
You've been in some big ass movies, dude. One of my favorite movies is Street Kings. I think it's such a cool movie. What was it like working with Whitaker? It just seems like that would be a very intense experience. Jay, hang up. I call him back.
All right. So I guess Chad was taping that for his show, and then heard him show up seconds later on our show.
But at first he wasn't sure if it was him because he was doing his accents.
Yeah, you don't know what he's up to.
I mean, who cares what it was like to work with Forrest Whitaker? His fucking eye was funny, and then you're done. So what?
And he was a great director.
Oh, he directed that?
No, in general.
He was?
Not really.
God, I love he hung up on that question. That was such a great...
Well, you know that, I mean, I love Chad, though, so I'm sure he didn't mean it that way. But if you start to talk to somebody about someone else,
right,
and you go, so you were in a movie with Paul Newman.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Paul Newman story? You know, you're like, okay, you have no interest in me.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, it's just like a dumb... I always get those, like some college kid is writing a paper on stand-up comedy and wants to, like, interview me, and they always have the same dumb fucking question. They're like, how did you get into it? I did it, I guess. Like, every dumb... What was that like, working with something? Good? How am I supposed to answer these questions? I don't know, it's a fucking dumb question. What was it like?
Well, Chad is actually a really good broadcaster, and you'd love to do his show.
Sure,
in
I'll do
Washington.
anybody's show. Listen, you could ask me those dumb questions anytime you want. Ask me any dumb question.
Kurt Metzger's here with us. His podcast, The Race Wars, that's hosted by Kurt and Sherrod Small.
It sounds scary, though, doesn't it?
It does. It sounds like all hell's breaking
Dude,
loose.
only Sherrod can bring up the podcast title. I can't have a German name. Kurt Metzger from Race Wars sounds so bad.
Kurt Metzger is here to talk race
We're
wars.
speaking with hair Kurt Metzger. Yeah, it sounds weird.
That's on iTunes and SoundCloud, and Kurt's special, White Precious, is available on Amazon.com.
And then he's writing for every other show on TV. But since you do stand up, if you turn around and watch like the roast and see your jokes, does that feel good? Or,
yeah. I love it. When I did the Sheen one, I loved because Shatner did a bunch of mine, and then Patrice, that was my main job, was like getting Patrice's thing together. And then he was like, Patrice was so great. I mean, it was like, I thought it was going to be, there was a lot of pressure on him because he went like last, which is like a bad spot to go. And it almost seemed like they're trying to throw him off or something, or maybe nobody wanted to follow him. I don't know how he ended up in that position, but he went off. He did stuff we just kind of half worked on. He just completed it right there, and you know what I mean. And it just sounded very like real and different from everything else everybody was doing.
First of all, it was different than anyone's ever done a roast before.
Yeah.
And this is what I'll always be a fan of Patrice's. He seemed like he had the innocence of a child with anything that he walked into.
Yeah.
Like, if he went into a church, he didn't act like people act it when they go into a church, you know? He was almost like he just got to earth. He was like, what is that for? What are you doing that? And, like, people would make jokes about his diabetes.
Right.
And he said, like, you're laughing about this, but this is going to kill me. You know what I mean? And it was just so funny and so real. And you're like, yes, why are people joking about this?
He didn't have he never had an agenda. And he would purposely go on interviews like that. He always told me, like, don't bring a little agenda of, you know, because he'd be on Fox News all the time.
Yeah.
And they loved him on there because he didn't try to, like, he knew how to play that game really smart. And by being like that exact innocent thing you're talking about.
Well, this is the other thing about him is, like, he would come in sometimes, he would have an opinion, but if someone else would say something, he might go like this. Oh yeah, all right, now I say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he would just give up this thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, he could easily go, all right, maybe I should start thinking like a Republican. You know what I mean? Like, it was so pure.
Right.
It was so pure that he didn't attach ego to that, even though he had a lot of ego about stuff. But all the last things that he did, like watch him do Jimmy Fallon's show, and no one has ever walked onto on a show and acted like that.
I didn't even see him on Jimmy Fallon. That's a clip I never heard.
Yeah, he started talking to the band, and then he's talking to the audience, and every once in a while he looks over at Jimmy. But it's just, he went on there like he had just dropped by a party. And the way he was even sitting is not the way you sit. He was just different, just totally had a unique way about him. I believe there's some talk about a documentary being put together.
I thought somebody had. I mean, I thought there was a couple already, but what do you mean, like one in an official kind of?
Yeah, an official documentary. And I also, for comedy nerds out there, the family of Bill Hicks is announcing a bunch of new material that they're going to be putting out.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's going to be.
Did you watch? There's one on Netflix. I think it's like Bill Hicks American, and then but then like half of it's just about his two friends he started with. I don't give a rat's ass about.
Yeah,
like just more Hicks and less of you guys.
Right.
Like I wasn't dying to hear the rest of that story about his old open mic chums.
Did they bring enough people to the thing?
I don't know. I think they live in like Portland now or somewhere, whoever the guys are. But just like, who cares, dude? Just put the Hicks part on. Give a shit what you. We used to do two-man things in high school. Like, so? Well, why would I care about any of that?
Metzger is ready to edit life now as we sit here. He would like to sit and just edit life and tighten it up a little bit.
It comes from having a smartphone. There's something where I like cannot. I just want to hear the specific thing I want to hear and no fluff.
He's trying to fast forward through real time.
Yeah.
Just move me. It's so good to have you. You haven't been here in forever either,
I know, man.
We've got to do this more. The first time you came in is Jay, but both you guys are so busy in different areas now.
Jay, did you hear his, I guess on his podcast, that dude Lewis has a clip of Jay on somebody's show crying?
Yeah, I did hear it.
Which I totally get his tears. I remember the money he thought he was going to get, and then he didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, I know that emotional feeling of being attached to the money before you get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't have cried like a woman about it, but...
What a sensitive, wonderful thing to say. You know, the fact that he opened himself up like that in public.
Yeah.
Like a
real,
woman, so you get to make
like a real
women
gay spider, if you know what I mean.
Yes, gay spider.
Might attack you.
But yeah, there's no fairness to anything.
Dude, I wanted to cry when I did warm up for the wedding. Seinfeld had that marriage counselor show.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And I got the warm up job because Joey Cola was the warm up guy, and I guess they wanted somebody less warm uppy, which they did.
Joey's the best in the business.
Yeah,
He's done a million places.
So they brought me in for like a day, and it was like $1,500 a day for like 13 weeks or something.
A day?
Yeah, and I was like, and I got fired after the first day, because I just got attached to the money before I did the job, and then I just couldn't do it, man. I was like all 2 left feet. It wasn't even that I was doing a bad job of the crowd. I was just like walking in front of the cameras and shit, and like, dude, just the klutziest. It was brutal, man. But I'm not like a warm-up guy like that. So then Seinfeld, when I got done, Seinfeld shook my hands, and then everybody just stopped talking to me on set, and I didn't realize that was like the...
That was the...
Yeah, I was new to network TV. I didn't know that's how they do you, where everybody just suddenly isn't friendly. And you're like, oh, I'm fired. That's what this is. Yeah, it was brutal.
Oh... That's the worst. Hey, it's good to see you, buddy.
Thanks,
Let's do this again. Fezzy, Plug City.
Kurt Metzger, the Race Wars podcast. That's hosted by Kurt and Sherrod Small.
Klaus Metzger's Race Wars.
You can get that on iTunes and SoundCloud. And Kurt's special, White Precious, that's available on Amazon.com. At Kurt Metzger on Twitter. And coming up, his work, the Comedy Central Roast of Justin Bieber. You'll be hearing his jokes March 30th with that. And Inside Amy Schumer. The new season starts in April.
Yeah. Cool.
What do we got coming up a little later on today, Fezzy?
Coming up, we got Jane Krakowski from the new Netflix series Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
And then what else do we have?
Then we have Richie Furay, who's got a new album out, Hand in Hand.
Richie Furay, of course, started in Buffalo Spring. He started Buffalo Springfield. Only after 2 years went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for that. Also started Poco, another giant band. So he's going to be his new album is just really, really terrific too. Kurt, let's make sure that we do this again.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Sooner rather than later.
I'm around whenever.
You're a ridiculously funny man, and to have you in here for the Jay Mohr craziness. Isn't it interesting to see yourself on the other side of that, you know, where you're going, Jay, let me ask you, but there's a question.
I get that feeling. There's like when you get on the radio, you want to be like the main.
You want to kill.
Yeah.
But you know, to me, there's like it's almost like a generational thing. The young guys come on and they're all just nice. They're like, hey, thanks for having me on. It really means a lot. I got 2 specials. And like the older guys will just come in,
well, you realize what it's for better by that point. You know, you got so much time and you got to sell whatever
you come in and you just want to bust the room up. You just want to go. I want them to know at the end of the day they could never have anyone funnier than me. Last poor second. Michele, you're going to be with your children this weekend and not paying attention to them.
That is true.
And you got nothing to plug.
Oh, I mean, you can hear me with Jenny McCarthy every...
I turn it on, I never hear you.
I'm there.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Wait, what do you do with Jenny McCarthy?
I'm her.
Now, what is the show called? The non-vaccination measles outbreak?
Oh, here we go!
No! We're off to break. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes with Jane Krakowski.
Ron and Fez on Raw Dog Comedy Hits, Channel 99.
I
The big buzz right now is Unbreakable. Kimmy Schmidt and Jane Krakowski is in here with us. How are you, Jane?
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
First of all, congratulations, because like I said, everybody's talking about this. And I think mainly because it's a very funny show and you get all the episodes at the same time.
Yeah, we are now streaming on Netflix, and I'm so happy that people are binge watching and all that stuff that you can do with Netflix.
Has it changed the way it feels like when something rolls out? Is it much different than being on a traditional series?
Well, this is the first time I have been a part of a show that has been streamed. So yes, it does feel very different to me, because on the other shows that I'd made, we, while filming, they are airing simultaneously. So you can sort of feel the feedback as you're filming and make adjustments and or not. But with this one, we made all 13 without... in our own world and what creatively Tina Fey and Robert Carlock wanted to make, and then we presented it in a way to be streamed on Netflix. And so, yes, it was a very different experience, because I didn't know if you'd feel sort of people were watching it or not, but you certainly can now that the show has come out.
Well, you know, now that it's come out, everybody is talking about it, and the difference between this and, let's say, 30 Rock is, you know, the arc of the character happens while we're binge watching. You know, normally you would be like, oh, I don't know, why does she do those things? But this happens, so you have to be very careful if you're recommending this to somebody.
Right.
What you say.
Right. I do like, though, that if people do binge watch, that they sort of see the whole picture of what was created, because I think certainly on this show, the characters develop quite a lot during the season.
Right.
So if you watch, you know, 1 through 3, you just get a taste. If you watch 1 through 13, I think you really get to see how the characters grew and where the show grows to as an entirety, as an entity. So, and I love the show, and I'm so happy that people have responded well to it.
Well, it is such a non-traditional show. I mean, it starts out so wacky, but then, of course, the characters change in a way that you don't see them change in network television.
Oh, that's
not over the
interesting.
course of one season, anyway.
Yeah.
I think.
I think, you know, I love working with Tina Fey and Robert Carlock, as I partner with them on 30 Rock as well. And so, as I say, in Tina Fey, I trust. So wherever she wants to take me with what she wants to write for me, I'm willing to go happily. And I realize, working with them, I'm probably going to get to play some of the best characters that I will be offered anywhere or here. So
with those two writers, do you feel like you have to stay up on pop culture so much, because you could almost need a glossary when you sit and watch this show, because there's so many almost like inside jokes on America.
Exactly,
you know?
And or New York, or whatever's on their mind at the time.
Yeah.
I'm continually happily surprised with what they write. I'm like, who comes up with this? This is fantastic. It's always right on the mark. And there's sort of a zeitgeist feeling to their writing.
It's a constant. So they must be just taking in pop culture all the time.
Yeah,
and
well, you know, they both
out.
worked at SNL, so I think that's part of their training, that sort of instant comedy of what's going on in the world. And yeah, I think they also do enjoy taking it all in and putting their spin on it.
Now, your character, again, we'd have to be careful with backstories and also story arcs, because traditionally this character would have pretty much stayed the same throughout a 5-year run.
I agree with that, actually. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. But I think she develops quite quickly as you learn her backstory and that's what I love about the character, actually. I think she's a quite complicated character because she's worked so hard to get from where she was from to get to where she is now. And I think that's I think all the characters, actually, the comedy is done on such a light level, but the underbelly is so dark that of all the characters, that they all have their bunker, so to speak, like Kimmy does with being kept in the bunker for so many years. But I think but then the comedy is lifted so high that it somehow lives in its own world. And I felt that with 30 Rock too. I felt Tina and Robert really create their own world that their shows live in. So you can go almost to a level of vaudevillian level. Certainly, I think we did on 30 Rock, because it works within the world that they created, the farcical world of 30 Rock. And in this world, Kimmy has its own New York and its own universe that it that it lives in.
But it's also like a morality tale. Like there's these life lessons taught through this absurd...
The wide eyes of Kimmy Schmidt. Yeah. The sunshiny Ellie Kemper, who is so genius in the show. And I love that she is so wide-eyed and optimistic, but sharp as a tack at the same time. And I think that's very original for that sort of character. A fish out of water sort of story of someone who's going back in time, who comes back to life after not knowing anything that's changed in the world in 12 years.
And of course, like you said, everybody has their own bunkers. Everybody has decided this is what you need to survive and get by in the world. Your character, especially, in the past, I think we would have had that character and seen her as a gold digger, and seen her as someone who's very shallow, but because we get backstory, it starts to make sense why she would behave the way she behaves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it gives her an incredible vulnerability. I think for someone to work that hard to leave where they're from, to get to where she thought would be great and a great life, but ultimately isn't, is a complicated person to play.
And also a very New York story.
Yeah,
that when you get to know people in New York, it's always funny to me. I'll be in a coffee shop and I'm talking to some older woman, and I think I have her figured out, and she's been like, and that's when I used to travel with Neil Young, and I'm like, what? Wait, stop, stop everything, and then you realize, of course, to be able to get here and survive here, some real weird adventures have taken place.
Yeah, exactly. And I think all of these characters in the show, you can't judge the book by the cover. I think that's maybe one of the running themes as well of the show. But yeah, I love her. I think she's complicated. And I think what I love about it so much is how, when I first read what they wrote for this character, that I was surprised. And I think to open up a script and be surprised with what they've come up with is always fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised as a viewer, to tell you the truth.
Good.
I was very, very surprised. I thought by the first 2 episodes, I had the entire show figured out. But a lot of that, I think, has to do with, I think when we look back years from now, Tina Fey is going to be seen almost in the same way as like Lucy is looked back on. The fact that somebody who came in and changed the whole game. And she's done it so elegantly that we haven't even noticed. You know what I mean? Like the fact that Saturday Night Live still has that stamp on it of what she did and the way she changed the politics of it, the comedy of it, and then 30 Rock being what 30 Rock is.
As I say, in Tina Fey, I trust, and I hope to comedically grow old with her for years and years if she'll have me. She's not only a wonderful woman, but I think she is a genius mind. She's a fantastic lady, and I feel very I'm so lucky to have been asked back to work with her.
Did you know her before 30 Rock?
Not before 30 Rock, no.
So everything that happened at 30 Rock changed your entire career.
Well, I think we had a great creative relationship there, as I think she did for all the people that were on the show, and as I think she's done for Kimmy as well on the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, because I think what she and Robert Carlock, her writing partner and co-creator certainly of Kimmy Schmidt, they are wickedly smart people, and I think they figure out a way to find out how to write for the people they have on their programs, to the maximum possibilities. And so they just figure out how to make those characters thrive with who they've hired to play them. And so I feel very lucky to be in that world with them.
So you start to feel like parts of your personality, parts of your background start to show up?
No, I wouldn't say that necessarily. I think I've been very different than the characters that I've portrayed for them, but that they write to what you do well, or what they can utilize. And I think I have not really felt that there's been such a great combination of actor and role as Ellie Kemper, as Kimmy Schmidt. I think they really tapped into something that is so unique about Ellie and her sunshine and wit and sharpness and intellect, that they somehow combined it to make a very unique character.
Well, your character, starts from this one position where you would think, oh, she's either cruel, shallow, but then you find out the fear in that lifestyle. And I think most people miss out.
Yeah, and that was actually how the character was described to me when Tina first presented the part to me. I had said yes, not even knowing anything about the part. I would follow her wherever she would like to take me. I said yes to playing whatever role it was. But then when she further explained what she saw the character was, it actually started from that point of fear that she is approaching the age that her husband left his first wife to trade in for the younger model. And so that is a very vulnerable place to start from. That's where we meet her, and that's where I think she's, certainly in the early episodes, is spiraling out of control.
Well, it reminded me right away of pro football, where we see these people playing at their best, but in the meantime, they're always afraid of the next person replacing them, afraid of any kind of injury. But I guess it also could be said for acting. You know what I mean? You're always nervous about, am I aging out of the parts that are really cool to play?
Sure, sure.
Although, do you think we're getting away from that a little bit, or is it still there as much?
So. Oh gosh, I hope so. I don't know. I feel like so many some of the best parts are becoming more and more available for older women. I mean, I think of Helen Mirren. I think of Meryl Streep. I mean, they're getting some of the best parts of their lives right now. So, or careers, I should say. So let's hope that, I don't know, that all sort of fades
also
away.
Because there's so much more content is needed now between as many networks as we have.
Yeah.
I was sitting the other night watching Better Call Saul, and I'm like, I think this one episode is better than the stuff that I saw the Oscar films this year. You know, I'm like, you could take that hour that I just watched and throw it in with the Oscar contenders, and it shows up.
It's fantastic.
So that is probably one of the positive things, that there's more places to go with a bizarre comedy like Unbreakable, Kimmy Schmidt, because this probably wouldn't have stood a chance to be seen 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Perhaps. I feel like, certainly in the vocabulary of Tina Fey, that this show is a proper successor to 30 Rock.
Yeah.
Not a spin-off in any way, shape, or form, but a successor. I think they established where they live comedically and in their world of comedy, and that this show is an extension of that.
How long before you find out whether you're going to do another season, or?
Well, we know we have season 2.
So season 2 is already locked in.
Season 2 came along with the move from NBC to Netflix, so that was fantastic.
So as soon as you get those 2 seasons, it changes the way you feel acting, and of course even writing what you're going to do with these characters.
Well, I really look forward to, we made the first 13 episodes to air on NBC. And the move to Netflix happened, I think, in the last week of filming the 13th episode, the final episode. So I look forward to seeing where Tina and Robert take the show with the newfound freedom of Netflix. Certainly with no commercials, with the creative freedom that they can have. I mean, we get a lot more time. We used to have 22 minutes, and now we can get at least 30. So there'll be more material. There'll be more content. And I think the show is so established in its tone already and what it is, which I think is fantastic, but it'll be interesting to see. I think they'll, I don't think it'll be in nudity and language where the show will grow. I think the show will change or delve deeper in the sharp wit of their humor.
Yeah, going places where
or the
you're
risk of their humor.
Yeah, where you don't have to worry about the entire masses being able to follow along.
Yeah. Or network sensibilities, really.
Yeah, really, that's true, although that's bending in so many ways now,
Absolutely.
too. Because they have to. They have to. Unbreakable, Kimmy Schmidt, it's available now on Netflix. All you have to do is go online because everybody's already talking about it. The buzz is already there. Thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you for having me. It was a joy to speak with you.
Same here, and I'll see you next time coming through.
Thank you.
All right, the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And of course, you won't hear that song anywhere in it. I think we just did that because her name is Jane. Jane Krakowski was just in here. Unbreakable, Kimmy, Schmidt. That's the big show over there on the Netflix. It's not TV. It's not HBO. It's Netflix, I believe is what they go by. Shelby, you're a binge watcher, right?
Yes, it's all I do.
And yet, don't you miss having something to do, like, let's say, Tuesdays at 10?
Yeah, since I can't binge watch Better Call Saul. Like, that's the only one, and I'm having to learn how to watch TV again since I can't find out what happens next week.
But don't you like the idea that you're going to get one Better Call Saul a week, or would you rather watch a movie for 9 hours?
Yeah, that wouldn't be good, but
this is what I don't understand. Everyone binge watches, and yet they're like, that Tarantino movie was too... I mean, how long were we in there? 2 hours and 15 minutes? I got people, when I leave the movies, I hear people bringing up, that was 2:20. Too long. And yet they're going, I watched every single Breaking Bad, start to finish. It was amazing.
I prefer the longer movies. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth. Like if there's like a 90-minute comedy, I might wait till it gets to...
It's a fucking movie, not a cab. What do you want, like a little ticker there?
Well, these prices, how I'm getting raked over the coals here with $30, $40 to see a movie.
$30 or $40 to see a movie?
Yes.
I want you to think about that. Have you ever paid $40 to see a movie?
Close to 30.
What movie did you pay close to 30?
Well, you have your concessions.
Well, who asked you to eat? That's up to you.
Yeah, I can't not eat if I'm going to go to a long movie.
Well, you can't say that's the cost of a movie. That does not go to the movie makers. That goes to the theater. So the fact of the matter is, you're acting like that movie cost me $600,000 because I bought a house was I sitting in there.
Well, I do the automated senior price ticket as well, so that does cut down on the cost.
You talk like a senior, that's for sure. Speaking of seniors, how you doing over there, big cat?
All right.
Yeah? Top of the world?
Yeah.
What are you loving? Life? Life itself? Coming up in this, no? You're not loving life? Coming up in a couple of moments is Fez's favorite recording artist of all time. He started the band Buffalo Springfield. He started Poco. He started the band Souther, Hillman, and Furay. Richie Furay is going to be here. And Fez, he's one of your all-time favorites?
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite song by him?
That real good one.
I kind of feel like you're being facetious.
Not sure what the name of it is.
I feel like you're not only being facetious, you're being contrarian. You're contrarious, facetious bastard. What do you like to listen to, Fez? What is it for you?
Oh, there's no music that I listen to.
That makes you a fun guy. What movies? Who's your favorite director? Hanna or Barbera? Who do you think was better? Let me tell you something about Richie Furay, and it's always a weird thing to me. Well, they just done that piece, and I don't want to say this and sound like I'm being an asshole about it, because I guess everyone influences everyone, but his songs sounds like Eagles songs, and yet he did that first. And I think Glenn Frey sounds like Richie Furay, but Richie was there first. I'm not saying he copied. I'm saying heavily influenced. But then I'm always surprised when someone has heavily influenced somebody to not come out and say it. It always gets to me.
They want to take all the creativity for themselves.
I don't know. I wouldn't accuse them of that. I'm just saying it's always interesting to me. That whole piece in Vanity Fair in the Canyons, we had Lisa Robinson in here not too long ago. I mean, it's always I'm always a big fan of scenes. I don't care where it's from. If a scene started, it's always interesting to me. And, when you go back and you look at, certain rock scenes, that whole swinging London thing, or New York in the 70s, San Francisco in the 60s is always fascinating. That whole Laurel Canyon thing in the 70s. But I also like to hear about, like, you know, all the 70s filmmakers hung out together. And Spielberg, weirdly enough, was one of them. Like, Spielberg would hang out with Marty Scorsese, like at his house. And like a lot of people would be like, oh, I don't like those movies. I like these movies. And yet those dudes were interacting together. George Lucas used to hang out with those guys. I mean, to think that George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola would have more in common with each other than the people who like their movies is always interesting to me. But Richie Furay is going to be here. He's got a new album out called Hand in Hand that Leeds just handed to me, I think yesterday or the day before. So I only got to listen to it a couple of times, but I swear to you, it sounds like a young band. And Richie's got to be in his 70s. And this sounds like, oh, this is nice. When did you record this? 1971? His voice is so strong and just right in the pocket. And you're like, well, how does that happen for some people? Then you meet other people in their 70s and, you know, like, get out my, you know, you never just get it. Because you are Benjamin Buttons right now.
Aging backwards?
No. I'm just saying you're Benjamin Buttons.
Oh, okay.
That's the only reason why I'm saying. I'm trying to drag you into this any which way I can. What could I talk about that you would like to talk about?
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
I love it all, though. I love to go back and forth with it. What are you if you were going to ask Richie one question, right? You were going to jump into this with him, right?
Yeah.
Is there a question that you have? Would you love to jump into this?
No, I'd rather not. I don't have a question for Richie.
Why not?
I can't think of anything to ask him.
You have a question for me or for Shelby?
No.
Or for the listeners?
No, I can't think. My mind's a complete blank.
I'm going to tell you something else that's a complete blank. A movie screen. And what do we fill that with? Magic, Fizz. Movie magic. And that's going to be you. Here's what I want you to say to Richie Furay when he comes in here. Richie, do you believe that you can fill a blank mind, a movie screen, if you will, with movie magic? And if you just say that one thing, that will make today a successful day for you. Are you ready to do that?
I'll probably have to jot that down.
You don't need to jot it down. If you even just start to jabber it out, it'll be the greatest thing that ever happened. I'll lay on my back and start kicking my feet like a turtle. I won't be able to get up anymore. Why don't you just try it now? I'll be Richie Furay.
Richie.
The new album is called Hand in Hand. It's available in stores and online March 31st.
Richie, do you think you can take a blank mind and fill it with movie magic? See, I knew I couldn't spit it out.
Do you mean like a movie screen?
Yeah.
No, I can't do that. I'm just a singer-songwriter. And he's also a preacher, Fez. He has a church, I believe, that he belongs to, and he preaches to people.
Are you still acting as Richie Furay?
No, I've taken off that. I'm the narrator.
Okay.
Again, I'm the narrator. But you know, you're always looking for faith, right?
No.
You could use some faith. Right now, your soul is a blank screen, and you might be able to fill that up with movie magic.
My mind and my soul.
Is there anything you'd like to ask me, Fez? Before I start talking to a guy who was in Buffalo, Springfield, 2 years that fucking band was together, and they went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's amazing to me. Then Poco, and then tried to put together a super group with the great J.D. Souther, Chris Hillman, and Richie Furay. But it is one of those bands that, you know, people go back and touch on. But this would be an amazing thing for you to talk to him about. And sincerely, a terrific... I listened to this album, and it sounded like Glenn Frey, back in the 70s, was singing Jackson Browne songs. It sounds like oh, I know exactly where that comes from. And that's because those two guys were kind of influenced by him. So what would you like to ask him now, Fez? Real question.
Does he hear his own music in their songs?
Are you trying to guess what the question is?
Sort of, yes.
No, ask me a question. Ask me a question.
I can't think. Are you excited to be talking to Richie Furay?
I'm excited to be talking to you. That's what really excites me. You know why?
Why?
We're close. I can feel it, dude. I can feel it. It's happening for us. We're getting our second wind. Anyway, brand new album out there called Hand in Hand, available in stores and online Tuesday, March 31st. He's playing different shows in the Northeast. South Orange at SoPac, Sellersville Theater in Sellersville, PA, Ram's Head in Annapolis, City Winery in New York, and then the Narrows Center for the Arts in Fall River. I believe that's Maine, all the way up in Maine. RichieFuray.com, RichieFuray.com for tour date information and the new album, Hand in Hand. Fez, you're going to sit in here with me on this, right?
Yeah, but I don't think I'll say anything to him.
Why don't you do this? Say, look, could I take a minute and show you guys how you can break a board? And then I'll hold the board, and you just slam yourself through it. You know the thing, just twist your whole body. You're basically breaking the board with your hip and your shoulder, not so much your hand. Your hand is just taking that movement.
Which way do you do it, with knuckles or the palm or what?
That's what I want you to ask Richie right before you break it. That'll be your question. You know, your true as the world question. What do I break it with, Richie? My knuckles or the palm?
So it'll be a question and a demonstration.
Well, the demonstration is going to happen so fast. There's going to be shattering splinters in every which direction once you unload on that damn board.
If I was in here, I would say, hey, I don't even tell him about the album. That's all I need to see. A board just being crushed.
Well, I'm here to tell people about the albums. I mean, we could crush boards all day long if that's what you want to do. It's not as difficult as you think. We get in a breaking block, yeah, that's going to be different. And then when we start hitting children, that's when you separate the men from the boys, you know? Can you do that same? What am I talking about? Hand in Hand is available in stores and online Tuesday, March 31st. It's really, really a terrific album by a guy who's been doing this since Buffalo, Springfield, which, of course, had so many great people in it. And his career has been an amazing one. A new album out called Hand in Hand. Let's bring him in here. And the name of this song, I want to make sure I grab the right song, because I don't think we're going to start with Hand in Hand, even though I like it.
It's called We Were the Dreamers.
We Were the Dreamers. So that's a beautiful song. It's really about all the people that started this kind of music. We Were the Dreamers. Here is Richie Furay. That is We Were the Dreamers off of Richie Furay's brand new album that's coming out March 31st. Hand in Hand. Richie, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Ron. Good to see you.
Dude, first of all, congratulations. This album sounds so great. And your voice is fantastic. It's always interesting to me who gets to hold on to that voice. How does that happen for you?
Gosh, man, I don't know. I guess I've just been very blessed and very fortunate, you know, that because I don't take care of it in any special way.
No way at all.
No, not really.
But that sounds exactly what you would sound like in back in the 1960s or 1970s.
Yeah.
You hear so many people struggle with it, but...
Yeah. And believe me, there's nights sometimes when I'm on the road after singing, for 2.5 hours or whatever, that it gets tired, but I just try to do the best I can, and it's held up.
You know what also is amazing to me is that we have this thing about creativity belonging to the young, and I'm listening to this album, and I'm new to it. I just got it, and I'm like, this is as good as anything I've heard from a songwriting point of view. The musicianship is great. Is that something you expected when you were a kid and you guys were all playing together?
That it would be happening something like that today?
Yeah, that would still be happening, and the creativity and the passion would be there.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I want to try to stay current. I don't want to just rely on what I did years ago, and I've been fortunate enough, especially with this particular product, I feel that, man, I really felt when I recorded this music that I had something special, and I'm hoping that I do, because it sure resonates with me,
Well, that's the first thing, right? It's got to feel true to you.
Absolutely.
We go back over your career, and you were the first at so many places. Of course, Buffalo Springfield was the first really big rock band. You were the first into the country rock sound that ended up taking over the 70s. Nobody had, I don't think, had done Christian rock before you. Is that true? Or
no, there were
still
some
in the beginning.
Yeah, there were
stages?
some folks that were doing Christian rock, and I didn't want to become just a Christian, recording artist. So I just kind of wrote. I mean, people say Christian rock. I would be I'll write some devotional music. So I did a couple of those too. But there were people that were doing that starting about, the late 70s, early 80s, and all it started to take off.
But it's always amazing to find sometimes the same names that come in and out of stuff. And Neil is on this record with you, and Neil Young go back how long?
We go back to 1965.
1965. Yeah.
You do the math, Ron. I have to get out my calculator, man. Let me see here what I got.
Well, when you go back at that point, we really didn't even know if that anything was going to last, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? Back then, as we were just kids, at least from my perspective, man, we were just having some fun making some music. That was what it was all about.
What was it that turned you on? What was it that made you think I want a career?
Oh, man, it was sitting in front of the television watching the Ozzie and Harriet show.
Is that right,
Yep,
Ricky?
absolutely, man. Ricky Nelson is what just, I remember this one scene. I just was talking about it a few minutes ago, but where Ricky is standing over this baby crib. I think his son David had just had a child or something, and he's singing Bebop Baby all by himself with his acoustic guitar. And then at the last verse, man, it swings to the auditorium, and there's James Burton and Joe Osborne and Ricky, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. I want to do this. And had my family, we went on a little vacation to Los Angeles, and I went to look for that house, man, that they go into every day.
Yeah.
So it was he was definitely the one that popped me. Of course, I loved the rockabilly, the Gene Vincents, the Eddie Cochran, the Buddy Holly, that music of the day. But it was Ricky Nelson, man. Just when I can still see that transition so vividly in my mind, going to that stage with James Burton. Oh, it was.
Well, then what's interesting, if you really think about it, by the 70s, he was following your style of music. So you got a guy who is your hero, and then before you know it, your hero's like, wow, I like that sound.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's so weird how that happens. I can't explain it, but it's really true. Doing the Stone Pony Band and all that,
there's no doubt that that's so Poco influenced and that entire scene. But that is true of that. I don't know whether you saw that Vanity Fair. Lisa Robinson wrote up everything on the Canyon. There's so many names that intersect at so many places. And you were there for so much of that.
Yeah, it's a cool little community.
It really was, and it's made more of an impact than obviously anyone set out for it to make.
I mean, if you'd have set out to do it, never would have happened. It was one of those things that just had to have its own little genesis and go.
Who were the people hanging out there that you were most like?
Oh, well, Mark Volman, for one. I lived with Mark for a while in the Turtles. Neil had a place up there. Joni Mitchell had a place up there. Mickey Dolenz had a place up there. I mean, it's just the names go on and on.
That is the amazing thing. I mean, if you sit down and look at the Buffalo Springfield, that was a band that was like a super group before they were even in groups. It looked like everybody was brought together for a project like that. And you say, how could that even, take place?
Yeah, you can say it was fate. You can say it was whatever, but it was just something that, I'd met Neil here in New York. Stephen and met him up in Toronto. We ran into each other in California and started the band,
So you had to have that desire to, like, I don't care where I'm going to play.
Yep. Yeah, when I left college, I dropped out of college my sophomore year before it was over. I mean, right at Christmas time. And when we went to we came here to New York, and we went down in the Village and sang in a couple clubs during. We thought it was the big time, but we were singing during intermission as they were turning the audiences over, man. And we thought it was the big time, but then it was like, I'm there, man. Got to do it.
The Village in those days, when you think of how many people showed up with guitars, and how like really simple and naive that was. Just a person with a guitar could think,
right.
We can make a living out of that. But how kind of cutthroat it gets as the years go along. It's pretty amazing to think that's where it all comes from. I also want to point out to everybody, you can pick up this new album by Richie Furay. It is Hand in Hand. It is really a gorgeous sounding record, and there's so many great songs on here, which is, like I said, it's part of the amazing part. Do you mind if I play Hand in Hand? Can we do that?
Please do.
While we sit here, because like I said, I'm new to this record. And the fact that it's track 2, the fact that songs jump out to you is always still unexpected to me as a listener at this time. All right, this is Hand in Hand. It's off the new album. That's Richie Furay, Hand in Hand, off the new album. That's going to be available Tuesday in stores, Tuesday, March 31st, in stores and online. Richie's sitting in with us. And I was just telling you during that, if we found out, some 24-year-old kid wrote that album, we were out looking for him. But the fact to me that you're
70.
Yes, 70, still sounding like that, still writing music like that. And this song's written about your wife.
My wife, Nancy. Yeah, it's not a puppy love song.
Yeah.
It's a song about people that have gone through the trials and tribulations of learning how to, make life work. And we've been married for 48 years, and we're still in love. We're still going hand in hand.
Still hand in hand after all these years. Now, early on, you almost messed this whole thing up with the rock and roll lifestyle. And that is so cliche, you know what I mean? Like, that's a given. But how were you able to save your role in your family?
Well, you know what? I had to make a decision, and I came to saving faith in Christ, for one thing, and the carpet was pulled out from under me because I was on this track that all I wanted to do was be a rock and roll star. I saw some of my friends, Steven Stills and Neil Young go off to a big success, Jimmy Messina with Kenny Loggins going off. And I'm thinking, well, what's the matter with me? I'm just as talented. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's what I was thinking at the time. I'm just as good as these guys are. And, I just had to give it up. And the Lord basically said, look, let's just see let's put this all in perspective. What's really important to you? And there was I didn't need to see my name in lights anymore. All I needed to do was get my family back together. And I put my heart towards it, but it takes two. I mean, she had to be going for it at the same time as I did, but it worked, and here we are.
Here we are, and you've got both now. You've got your family.
Yep.
And, you mentioned that you're 70, and I'm looking at you on the road one night after another, March 14th in South Orange at SOPAC, March 15th, Sellersville Theater in Sellersville, PA, March 16th, the Ram's Head in Annapolis, 18th back here at the City Winery in New York, March 19th, Narrows Center for the Arts in Fall River. So you're staying out there on the road.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, we're not flying around on Learjets.
Right.
We're in vans. We're going and bringing our equipment in.
Mm-hmm.
We're out there doing it because we want to do it because we love what we're doing.
And like you brought this up, the people that you played with in bands and in and out, and anyone who listens to your music knows that the Eagles and other country rock bands definitely owe you a debt, right down to phrasing. You know what I mean? Right down to that's the voices there. But for you, what has been interesting about the path that you ended up following? What do you feel like you?
I don't think anyone should be as blessed as I have been in my life. I've lived my dreams. Mm-hmm. How many people set out, to really have some on the horizon out there? This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. I'm looking at Ricky Nelson, on television. If he's doing it, I can do it. And I've lived that, mm-hmm. and I've been blessed with, my wife. I got 4 beautiful daughters, 12 grandchildren, mm-hmm. And it's just I can't put it into any other perspective, then no one should really have had this good a life and this good a time. I've been really fortunate. I've been blessed to be able to do what I want to do, and I think that keeps me going.
I always don't get a chance to talk to a person of faith about this, and I know you're a minister, but I've talked to so many songwriters mm-hmm. who have felt, for lack of a better word, some sense of divinity in songwriting. When a songwriter will say, I don't quite know where that song came from. I felt like I was just a vessel. It came through me. Mm-hmm. Is there any way that you've been able to explain that or think about that through the years?
No, it's kind of difficult because sometimes I'll be, I'll have a line and mm-hmm. I want to know what that line, where did that come from? Or I'll be walking on my road and all of a sudden this thought comes to mind and I'm thinking, where did that come from? And the next thing I know, I go home and I'll sit down at the table and that line will still be going through my mind. And the next thing I know, I'm writing another lyric. I'm writing another line. And it's all of a sudden a story is being written. And I just feel like I am. I'm just a vessel that's just kind of writing this stuff down. Some of them I have thoughts too, but mm-hmm. I think they still have to get started. Like when I started writing Hand in Hand, I knew right away that right after the first, I couldn't love you anymore. I couldn't tell you anymore. I mean, I'm thinking about my wife. That's mm-hmm. it, period. And I knew where that song was going. There are other songs you find, Don't Tread on Me or Wind of Change. Some of those songs that are on that record that I just start writing after. And some of it takes another walk on the road. It takes another walk on the road. But so sooner or later, there's some complete thought there that's finished. I didn't sit down and say, well, I'm just going to contrive this now. It just happened.
But there's nothing like in your studies that kind of show where maybe this could come from a higher power.
Oh, I believe that it's a gift from God for sure.
And some people, get it, and some people, I guess, get gifts in other ways. But it's always interesting to me that what a song will do to be born. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That a song will come through. And it's also interesting to me that people write that song seems to belong to that person. Like, it's very rare. Like, you wouldn't necessarily sit down and write a Rolling Stones song.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Neil Young seems to get the songs that are for Neil Young,
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to me that people don't really know where that skill comes from.
Yeah. Well, and again, I do believe it's a gift, from God. And I've actually thought about this, I write songs. And I don't know how I write songs.
Yeah.
I mean, I write songs. I put lyrics to music. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, how does this happen? I mean, It's like crazy, but it does. And
because there certainly seems that there has to be craft to it, but at the same time, inspiration is out of your control.
It's all stirred up, put in the pot, and away it goes. And sometimes, again, these songs came together pretty quickly. I wrote 5. My partner and I wrote 2 together, and then I did a Dan Vogelberg and a Kate Brothers song. But the ones that I wrote, once once the ball started to roll, then the finished product was not that far down the road. But some of them, like ideas that I might have had for a couple of the songs, I mean, I may have walked that road a year, just trying to elaborate still. What's this about? And then I'll scratch off some of it, and go back out. And I love to do it on the road,
Just for some reason, getting out of that regular place that you live your life, going to a different place also seems to help.
Yeah, it does. I mean, where I live, my neighbors aren't very close by, and I live on a mountain road west of Boulder, and I just take a little walk, and all of a sudden, boy, the things that you think about out there on the road, it's amazing.
Connect it with nature somehow. Open sky works for you. I would love I would just love to know. You know what I mean? I would just love to know how it works. But
Me too.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just
I don't know.
It's stunning. But you've worked with so many great songwriters. J.D. Souther. Who is the guy for you that you looked and said, "Man, I wish I would have got that. I wish I would have got that fastball."
I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't.
So many good ones.
Because I just do what I do. I mean, there are some songs that actually just bring tears to my eyes. There's a song, I don't even know who wrote the song, but it's a song called "Love Me" by a guy named Colin Ray. And I can remember when the first time I heard that song, I mean, it brought tears to my eyes. And then I'd put it in, and I'm driving down the road. I'll pull up to a stop sign, man. Yeah. And all of a sudden, there's his tears. I'm looking over here and hoping nobody's going to see me. I'll wipe these tears off of my face. But I mean, there's just great songwriters, and I hope I'm just a good songwriter out there somewhere that somebody can identify with and embrace some songs that I've written.
Well, that's the thing, man. Once you put it out there into the universe, it no longer really belongs to you. It's about other people's experiences, and it's amazing. Sometimes I can hear a song for the first time in like 30 years or something and start singing along with it. And you're like, where's the rest of my memory? Like that. Why can't I pull that out?
No kidding.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man, Ron. That is right on.
Well, I got to tell you once again, congratulations for the album.
Thank you very much.
If we would have known all these years that the talent would stay, I think that people probably would have enjoyed the ride a lot more. Don't you think?
Well, hey,
there would have been a lot less fights if everyone thought, this isn't going to go away. It's not a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year career.
We're in for the long run.
Hand in Hand is the new album by Richie. It's going to be available in stores and online Tuesday, March 31st. Out on the road, South Orange at SOPAC, Sellersville at the Sellersville Theater, Annapolis, Maryland is the Ram's Head, City Winery in New York, Narrows Center for the Arts. This is all between March 14th and March 19th. RichieFuray.com for the tour information. What do you want to go out with? What can we end this with?
I just want to say thanks for making the music available to people, and I hope that it touches hearts out there, because it's a very heart-touching album for me. It really is.
It's a gorgeous album, and
Thank you.
I congratulate you for it, my friend. Let's close out by let's do "Don't Tread on Me." Let's do that one. I'll see you next time, my friend.
Thanks, Ron.